Squad Games Podcast. Squad Games Podcast.
There's rumors about a nerf for the Sanctifiers, and the Pope just died. So,
Well, that's how you start a podcast. Welcome to the Squad Games Podcast. I like that one, Rob. Goodness gracious.
tip your waitress. I'll be here all week.
We are here with Rob, and we're here with Branden Bean, also known as Kiddo Crew. Thank you, fellas, for jumping on today on the podcast.
My pleasure.
Yeah, our pleasure, yeah.
So before we dive in, Branden, you have social media and stuff too, right? You have a Patreon, all this kind of stuff. You're kind of the bigwig of the North,
I wouldn't say about that. It's not like I'm a big content creator like you guys, but I play this game a lot, so.
No, don't sell yourself short. Yeah, you see those write-ups. Those were
I read them.
Super helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I do. I'm still doing those write-ups. I only need 2 more games with Nemesis Claw before I do like a summary of them. I think Nemesis Claw are in a really good spot right now.
Yes, they are.
It's been really nice to play a team that's in a good spot because historically my guys that vote on what I play next like to put me on Exaction Squad or Kurt in last edition. Scouts pre them getting 10 operatives. Like I did a Scouts review and did it with only 9 operatives before they got the Power Knives last edition, and that was a really painful 10 games.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm on Nemesis Claw, and it's been really nice to play a team that has some teeth in the current meta.
It is nice, isn't it? Yeah, I kind of played Vet Guard for a really long time, and they sucked balls.
They still do.
And then I refused to play them. They won a tournament or two recently, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one more buff and the team will be actually good, probably. Hopefully, if they get a buff, that's what today's episode is about, okay? Today, I have brought some very competitive players, a TO in myself and Giacomo, and 3 content creators. And Rob is pod famous. We have brought all these people together today to talk about our hopes and our dreams for an upcoming data slate for Kill Team and see what we can get wrong, what we can't get wrong. And we're going to kind of define what teams we're going to buff, what teams we're not going to buff. Forgive me for the lack of some images. I was going to do some cool stuff, but, I took a nap today, so it didn't happen. But we do have some. Yeah. So it should be good. It's going to be fun today. So let's define what we should, how we're going to buff and nerf teams. Okay, we'll each have a team that we can pull out from. Okay, so we're going to have a tier list, a tier. Okay, it's going to be S tier, and that's anything above a 55% win rate. Okay, and now before anyone freaks out, listen. We are judging based off of win rate because Games Workshop has said in multiple things what they do is they look at win rates and then they buff and nerf strictly from win rates. Now, could they have other metrics in there? Sure. We provide and we capture tons and tons of data for Kill Team as a whole. It is on our website, and there are multiple other content creators who does it. Can you roll a crit? Some people from Poland. I think Spain does it too. All sorts of stuff, okay? We have our own data collection that is done by David. He is an amazing person and does everything for us. And we collect all sorts of stuff. And in fact, we have a lot of thoughts and feelings about teams as well, whether they should get nerfed or they shouldn't. But today, we're not going to be Dakotah, Giacomo. We're not going to be Rob. We're not going to be Branden. We're going to be Games Workshop. We're going to look at the win rates specifically and decide what needs to be buffed, what needs to be nerfed. Now, before we get there 100%, there's one more thing. S tier, anything above 55% win rate. A tier is going to be 55% to 50%. B tier will be 49% or whatever under 50% is. down to 45%. C tier will be 45 to 40, and D tier will be anything that is below 40%. Now, typically, Games Workshop has said in the past they like to buff anything below a 45% win rate, and they want to buff or nerf anything below, a 55. I mean, anything above a 55% win rate. Okay, so that's going to be the metrics that we look at. We will look at other things. All right, but that's going to be kind of how we're going to look at teams, and let's try to come up with more creative things other than +1 operative, -1 operative.
Pathfinders.
But there is some teams that I 100% think just need more dudes. And, if you are 100% like, yo, this is the fix, this is our sales pitch to become Games Workshop employees. Okay. This is how you do it. You come up with some creative stuff. They're going to send you emails. Don't quote me. Okay. That's not how it works. Okay.
I'm moving to Nottingham.
If you move to Nottingham, you better take me with you. All right. So, all right. We're going to look at some stats. Or do you guys have any? Okay. We're going to look at our old tier list. And we're going to see, I'm going to tell you how wrong we all were. Now, you can judge us. Branden, you can judge us. Okay.
I will.
This was done, I believe, like very, very, very beginning of February. When we did our tier list video. And our tier list videos are notorious for being too early tier list videos. And we also have our own unique look, right? To make us look different from others, right? So we have our tier list here from early February. Interestingly enough, we have S tier, we have Void Dancers, Inquisition, Hand of the Archon, and Legionary. We also have in A tier, we have Scouts, Warp Coven, Corsairs, Nemesis Claw, Plague Marines, Ratlings, Blades of Cain, Blooded, Brood Brothers. In B tier, we have Angels of Death, Phobos, Chaos Cult, Hunter Clade, Wormblade, Felgor, Savagers, Hyrotech, Mandrakes, Farstalkers. In between, we have Rekka Crew. C tier is Jaegers, Death Corps, Commandos, Vespids, Novitiates, Aquilons, Starstriders, Pathfinders. And in D tier, we have Kasserkin, Exaction, Breachers, and Gellerpox. Now, we did not judge the same metrics on this one. Okay, we were like, what's the best teams of the game? What's likely going to win tournaments? Okay, but we did nail some of these spot on. The majority of these are 100% just wrong. Very, very, very wrong. In fact, I don't think there's a single one in S tier that's correct.
No.
Exciting.
Times changed.
Well, this was all before Blood and Zeal too, so.
Oh yeah, this is before Blood and Zeal. Yeah. So, is there anything about this that like catches your guys' eye? Do you think that which one do you think we got the most wrong?
Hand of the Archon.
Wow. Okay. I mean, that seems pretty accurate, actually.
And Hunter Clade.
And maybe Scouts at this point.
Yeah, Scouts. That's a.
Yeah.
I was hopeful.
Now we did have a guest on. Shout out to Orion. He put. I'm going to throw him under the bus right now. He put Hand of the Archon S tier, and he put Scout Squad S tier.
See, he was thinking of himself playing the team, so he's like, they're naturally S and A when I play him.
Yeah. But in fact, the majority of these are just completely wrong. I really pushed for, I think, like Legionary to be an S tier. They're nowhere near there right now, and win rate wise, right? Maybe power wise, some of these things all still stack up, like in the hands of certain players, because there are the two teams that have the most amount of complete and total wins in the entire of everything. One of them has a 51% win rate, and they have they're tied for the most amount of wins, right? So we're going to go over some of those, and then we're going to discuss how we're going to nerf some teams and whether or not tournaments should play a factor. Because do you guys think that tournaments should play a factor in Games Workshop nerfing teams, or do you think that they should be nerfing teams for mid-table?
Rob or Brandon, who wants to go first?
I'll go first. Yeah, I think tournaments should, I think, be the kind of the hallmark of what gets nerfed or buffed, because like if you're just playing like a friendly meetup at a game store at your house, like then you can, take dumb teams that like you can control your matchups. Be like, I'm gonna play Hunter Glade, and I want you to play, I don't know, Vespids, and we're just gonna have like a weird match. And you can, house rule things or make some rules for it. But like tournament, they play by the rules, and they've got clearly defined like metrics. So I don't really know. I mean, I guess you could look at just basically like word of mouth on like Reddit or Discord to see like which team everyone thinks is going to be like curb stomping people, but then there's too much variance. I think tournaments are the best way to kind of figure it out.
To be honest, I don't think I've ever truly gone to Reddit for advice. I might be one of the few, right? But I have never done this thing. So I'm pulling this up on our editing program.
There you go.
To try and move some of these things around so we can kind of look at some of these. All right. Let's hide that nasty bar at the bottom. There we go. Now people can't complain. Haha.
Oh, they will.
Yeah. They always have. All right.
Brandon, what do you think? Do you think that tournaments are the way to really determine whether something needs to buff or nerf?
I think if you're not using tournaments as a metric, like why are you nerfing or buffing anything? You could just leave the game as a casual game if you're not using the competitive format to buff or nerf the different teams that create feels bads. And like that's what GW historically has been actually pretty decent about removing the feels bad interactions where someone plays and plays and plays, and even if it's not a top table, it's a mid table where someone just has like the raw stats of like, oh, I win because I'm playing Legionnaires and they haven't been nerfed yet. You know what I mean? I just the nerfs that they implement tend to remove things like that. For example,
they also remove a lot of cheese.
Yeah, a lot of the cheese, which is good because then it comes down to skill, or at least more decision making, which is good because they took a lot of the skill expression out of turn 1 and 2 with deployment and order flipping. But every nerf that they've had has been to like try to bring it to so it's more of a decision making skill based game, which is really good. Like as an example, before the big nerf that hit Warp Covenant Legionnaires at LVO, even with the LVO custom nerf to those legions, I was against a Legionnaire player who was 4-2 in my round 7, who had 8 games total before that game, like leading up to that game. Like he had played 2 games outside of tournaments, comes LVO and is 4-2 just because of the power of Legionnaires at the time, just stomps through some people at the time. And so I think that more skill expression in the game is a good thing.
I agree.
Agree as well.
Yeah, because I mean, we do like to think that we're playing a skilled game, and you see a lot of people painting as well. And, our last podcast, we did a 3-color minimum, should things be 3 colors? Should things be battle ready, or should things be unpainted? Right. A lot of people have a lot of thoughts on that. And eventually we are going to come to that because I don't think that it was,
decided. We didn't get the other side of the story.
We didn't get the other side of the story. So the next time we bring it on, we're going to have 2 extreme sides, and you'll see a lot of great arguments.
The other side
rather
is wrong.
Scub,
rather than today, which everyone's going to be 100% in agreement, right?
You're going to need to bring me back on for that because I have some things to say about that topic actually.
I see.
Okay, and Brandon, what side are you for?
So I am for the spirit of the hobby. Okay. And I know that might not fall into a 3 colors minimum, but I'm for the spirit of the hobby. For example, I just started a local league for players to play, and I got a bunch of people saying, hey, can I play Goremongers? Knowing full well that Goremongers are going to be in their hands only during week 2 of the first week of this league. And I said, absolutely. As long as you guys are making progress on the hobby, you guys aren't just like putting the glue together and playing them as gray plastic the whole time. As long as you guys are making the effort that other people are making with their minis, I'm totally fine with that. Plus, it would really suck to wait 8 to 10 weeks to play with the minis you just got and you're excited about.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
And we did something like that for somebody at LVO, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely agree. But you know, there are other people out there that think we should just play plastic because that's what we're given. You know, so you know, there's a couple good sides, couple good conversations, and you know, should golden ticket events or other large events be considered, you know, 3-color, no color, just because, you know, like there's a barrier to entry, right? We have a worse barrier to entry typically than any other, you know, game. Maybe that's why we're not nearly as big as Magic or any of the other things. Right. Personally, the reason why I don't think we're as big as Magic is because our rule sets change so much, you know, and everything changes so much. And then there's a lot of other things, but we're not going to get into that conversation.
Yep, that'll be a different day.
Yeah. Going back to our tier list, what do you guys, please, hopefully you haven't looked at the stats yet, because anyone can on our website, squad/games.net. All right, cool.
Squad dash.
Under squad dash. Thanks. Listdexia coming in over here.
There you go.
Yeah, he's my twin. We have Kill Team Stats, obviously, on our website. Go ahead, check that out. David runs that, and we have some hidden metrics and stuff like that, and we go over that during our Meta Watch content. Now, who do you guys think has the highest win rate?
I already looked. I can't answer.
Okay.
I haven't looked. I'm gonna guess it's Goremongers right now.
Okay. How about you?
I have a guess.
That's fair.
That's
Robert,
the real answer.
Sorry for the podcast listeners.
I can say that at his neck, and he's wearing. You'll see. Well, you won't see. You'll listen.
You'll never see.
Yeah.
What I can say,
a man wearing a black shirt with
is that I keep a track of some of the stats. There's a couple different websites that I go to and look at every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And the stats that I've been seeing consistently before had Brood Brothers and Warp Coven pretty consistently up there, with a couple other names going up and down depending on the day of the week, whenever a tournament got entered. And so I can definitely say that I've been watching that pretty closely, as I haven't been able to play this like Dataslate. I haven't really been able to play in a tournament recently. So,
I mean, that's fair. I haven't been able to play in a tournament either in quite some time. I think the listeners, we all know what you're going through, Brandon. We all have at some point in time. Some people just listen for the casualness, you know. I think most people go to Kill Team Casuals to listen to them. I love those guys. Shout out to Kill Team Casuals.
Great guys.
Okay, so the number one team. Now, some of these you have to take with a grain of salt. Some things you do, right? Because of the total games played, right? We have a total of 7,000 games played in this current data slate. Okay. This team only has 24 games, but they've only been out for 2 weeks. That's the Sanctifiers. Sanctifiers have a 66.6.
Whoa!
Yep.
Oh,
yes, they do. They have a 50% placement rating, a placement percentage. Placement percentage means how many events have they been to compared to how many total placings does a team have. So they've shown up to 3 tournaments, and they've placed. They've won 1 and placed 3 times. So out of all the tournaments they showed up to, they placed 1.5 times. You know. In 1.5 of those. They have an overrepresentation ratio of 4.17, and they've had a total of 6 unique players so far. The next up, Rob, you want to give me a guess? Who's the second strongest faction in all of Kill Team currently?
I still think Warp Coven, so I don't know if the numbers back that up, but I'm going to go with Warp Coven. Brandon seems like he's on the right track with that too.
I trust him.
Warp Coven are in our broken tier. They are at a 56.9% win rate, but they are 4th on our list. In fact, there are 2 teams stronger than Warp Coven currently.
Is one of them Brood Brothers?
Brood Brothers at 66.21%. 120 games. Still not a ton of games, right? But they are really, really strong. The players that are taking them know how strong they are because they also have a placement percentage of 38%. We used to see anything over like we typically with the more and more teams being added to the game, typically you want to see teams between 25 and 12% placement rating, right? In a data. And that's how many tournaments have showed up. It's how often they're placing at a tournament. Maybe they haven't won one, but at least they're showing up in the top percentage tournament wise. But yeah, Brood Brothers are absolutely killing it at top level play. Since they have a 30, if they show up to an event, they have a 38% chance they're going to be in the top percent. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's objectively crazy. And I don't see them in California whatsoever. And there might be a reason. California loves Felgor, and Felgor poop all over Brood Brothers. You might think, oh, we have stun grenades. We have a stun here. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. A good Felgor player is just going to be like, okay, you stun me. I'm still going to charge you. You're still going to die. Oh, I'm frenzied. Okay, I'm going to charge one guy over here and kill two balls. It's absolutely insane. I've seen this played out by a really good Brood Brothers player and Felgor players a couple times, and Brood Brothers just don't stand a chance. It's not playable. Not playable. The next team, which I will be, let me do a dab real quick. In a lot of our content, I have been telling everyone how good Chaos Cult is.
Yeah.
I have been telling everyone, I've been yelling to the stars, when we talk about balance. And we had a lot of people in our video here, our tier list video when we first made it, saying that, cults don't deserve to be that high. I tried to argue for them to be S tier, and Giacomo and Orion told me I was a hogwater nonsense,
Yeah, we did.
You did. I was right on that one team. I think
we need to look at the names of the players playing that team.
There are 19 unique players. We have Janice, who's done well with the team. We have Jason Steinke, who's won. He is placed at one or two events with them.
James Robinson
won an event down here with them as well. California is known for melee horde teams, and this is kind of like where there's a ton of melee players in California. So they've won quite a few events, or they've won two total tournaments, and it looks like I think we had a first place and a second place Chaos Cults at a 38-person tournament called There and Back Again, a kill team tournament. That was our first tournament we ran. Or was they were first and third, something like that. And Jimmy Kelly was second with Kroot, I believe.
He did play Kroot. That's right.
Yeah.
Nerf Kroot.
So Chaos Cult is cooked. They are really, 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 really strong. Accurate too is absolutely phenomenal. If you haven't tried them yet, you should. You take Kill Op as your primary, and you just run at people and you kill them. It's just that simple. And you just dominate the objectives, and you just beat the crap out of people. So, surprisingly, Goremongers have a 53% win rate. I went to Reddit recently, and I saw somebody saying that they were hoping for a Goremonger buff. I can tell you right now, the majority of the competitive-minded people in California who's won some of the largest events in the world, Kel team specifically, including Jeshua Kelly, James Robinson. He jumped off of Chaos Cult to play Goremongers, right? Goremongers might be the most broken team in Kill Team. If played right, they might be the strongest team out there. The only team that really has possibly really holds a lighter to them is AOD, right? And you still got to mess up with a really well-run Goremonger. I've seen a lot of people saying that Goremongers are just weak Felgor. That is not the case. In fact, they poop all over Felgor and their faces. They can strike from 2 inches away. They can nerf half of your damage. in the very first fight of every single fight ploy. They heal 2d3 plus 2, right? They have Relentless as attack op, right? There's some crazy stuff. I'm going to pull out my card here, okay? When we talk about these teams, this is the one team outside of the 55% win rate that I want to have a nerf.
I agree, 100%.
I've got one, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. So remember, each of us get one card where we can say, hey, this team is getting a buff or this team is getting a nerf. Okay. So Branden, buff your blooded. Okay. Or do whatever you think is right.
He's going to pick the cops.
Funny enough, I don't think blooded need a nerf. I think blooded are in a really good or buff. I think blooded are in a really good spot. Mm-hmm. Sanctifiers pose an interesting question, and honestly, Goremongers are just a hard thing to deal with. I think if Goremongers, a couple of the functions in Goremongers get brought to the same level as other things that we see in the game right now, so the same power level of the healing and the DPR, I think that they'll be fine.
It's fair. Brood Brothers, I had a couple of people from Spain telling me that they felt like they could beat the Goremongers with Brood Brothers, which is interesting because typically Brood Brothers do struggle into melee hordes, but they're not a horde. They do have 8 models. So maybe they have enough firepower. They can focus them down a little easier than they could a Felgor team. So we have as well Inquisitorial Agents at a 53% win rate. These teams are all in A tier. We have Void Dancers with a 51, Felgor with a 51, Corsairs with a 50. I will probably put some kind of image up or make one together because this was what I was supposed to do. And then we have a couple other teams, Wormblade, Novitiates, Rekka, all in the 40s stuff. We're going to talk about things that probably need a buff, right? That's anything underneath a 45% win rate or in the D tier, anything under 40%. So interestingly enough, there are some teams in the below 45% that I do not think need buffs, right? So we have Forest Stalkers with a 43, Mandrakes 43, Hand of the Archon 43, Deathcore 43, Angels of Death 43, Heretic Circle 42, Commandos 42, Rattlings 41. Okay. All right. And then in D tier, we have Vespids, Scout Squad, Kasserkin, Gellerpox Infected, Tempestus Aquilons, Pathfinders, Hunterclade. Yeah, that's it. So Hunterclade have 65 games this season with a 22% win rate. They're the new Vet Guard. Pathfinders, 28 total games, one of the least played teams in the entire split of this balanced data slate with 25% win rate. Aquilions, 173 games, quite a few, with a 33% win rate. Gellerpox with 4 games. No one is liking the Geller Kings, you know? No one's liking them. Kasserkin.
Ryan moved off.
They fell off, yeah.
Yeah. Kasserkin also fell off.
Yeah.
34% win rate. Scouts, 36% win rate. That's a far cry from where we thought they were in S tier / A tier. And we have Vespids with a 37% win rate. So that's our, pretty rough times for these guys. Yeah. So that's not looking good, fellas. It's not looking good.
No, some really low tier stuff.
Can I take a stab at one of the teams you don't think need a buff despite the low win rate?
Sure.
It's probably Angels.
Yep.
Agreed. Mm-hmm. I don't think that Angels need a buff whatsoever.
Yeah. I think Angels are in that unique space of, here's 6 Marines, friend. Come join me at this kill team tournament that you've played 1 game with me. Or, you split the starter box, so you got Angels of Death. It gets a pass of like, there's so many players playing it. And you could argue this also goes for Aquilons and Vespids at the moment, though I think they probably do need some help because they're also a starter box that a lot of people probably got.
Yeah.
Yeah. You look at, I think where's they have 43% win rate somewhere. Angels of Death have 671 games this data slate. 671. That's a far cry from 4 from Gellerpox. Right? Oof. That is a difference. If you Like you're like, oh, look at 160. You can't really collect a lot of data. There, you can collect a damn lot of data on these Angels of Death players. They're going ham out here. Now, an interesting thing is, since there are so many people playing Angels of Death, I'm sure their win rate has dropped by a percentage point or 2, maybe 3, depending on Angels of Death players playing into Angels of Death and making it 100% of 50%, right? So innately tanking their losses a tad or bringing them all closer to a 50% win rate. Those statisticians out there, I'm sure, can tell us where if it trends downwards or if they trend more stable, right? With the more games that you play.
Mm-hmm.
Breachers also 47% win rate with 33 games. Looks like they're doing pretty decent, you know?
Quite wild.
Yeah. But they have no tournament wins. And they also have no tournament placings, 0%. So, they go to an event. They're the new Exaction Squad. You go to an event, you go 50-50, you win 2, you lose 2, and you call it good.
It's a good time.
Yeah, it's a good time. It's a good time. So let's get into some of these nerfs. Sanctifiers and Brood Brothers. I can try to also mimic us over here. Just move a couple more teams and we should be good to go. What do you guys think Sanctifiers need in order to become much more stable?
Can I do a hot take?
Yes.
Sure.
I don't think they need much. I think we have gotten in this edition so used to everyone's on conceal, and then I don't have to worry about who I'm flipping, and I don't think about an Alpha Strike. Because there's only like 2 teams that can do it, Jaeger or Hearthkin and Corsairs, pretty much. That the big reason that Sanctifiers are cleaning up right now is because people don't know how to counteract Alpha Strikes, and I think that's going to get kind of resolved on its own. Because the damage reduction, that's powerful. They've got a lot of like tricks, but like really what's making them oppressive is the fact that you can get a Melta into your the opponent's deployment zone pretty much on the first turn. And I think that they just need a little touch to bring him down. But like, I think they're a victim of, because I've played him a couple times so far and people know what I'm going to do. And then they're still surprised that you can get like a Flamer or a Melta that far up. So I don't know what the secret tech is to break a Alpha Strike, but I think there's ways to play around it. I think the one thing that could really I got 2 ideas because I've been playing a little bit and think about it. The Call the Procession, the ability to let everyone move up, that could be either like once per game or not allowed during the first turning point. And then the Purity Seal, which is really they hit on 4. So even when your Melta goes all the way up, like statistically, you're going to get 2 hits, 2 fails. I think the Purity Seal and then the Severe Rule. So the Purity Seal should only work if you're currently in Sermon, and the Severe Rule should only work if you were never in Sermon. So the way it works right now, if you start your activation within 6 of the Orator or the Confessor, you're in Sermon for the entire turn. So you can still be in Sermon, but your Severe Rule on your Melta, which means you have to be 6 inches away from the other operative, but you didn't start that far away. So I think if you just make the Severe Rule, if you were at all in Sermon during your activation, you don't get Severe. And if you are not in Sermon, you can't use Purity Seals, which means the Melta's probably hitting twice with no Severe. So
yeah, I think
suddenly it's not as dangerous.
I think one of the problems with that team is the flexibility of their operatives just across the board. Every single team you see that has a Melta gun or a plasma gun and a gunner profile, and they're limited to how many gunners they have, right? Mm-hmm. Doesn't have a melee weapon with that gunner. But now you're talking a team that has better melee than melee designated operatives.
And 8 wounds.
Passively.
So, Rob, I don't know if you saw a recent video I did. I recently played against David on Twitch live versus his Phobos, and it wasn't close with the Sanctifiers. Now, could David have tried something else? Because I definitely surprised him a couple times. Sure, but in a tournament with somebody who's never played against a Sanctifier player, that's going to be the average outcome currently.
Yeah.
I will say that I believe that you are fighting the good fight, and that you might be a little biased,
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know where these accusations are coming from.
Rob is here trying to save his peoples.
Orator Rob.
Yeah,
I'm not going to bring these guys to a tournament, but I think they're too strong. I just don't think they're going to stay at, even if they get no changes, which I don't think they will, but even if they get no changes, they're not going to be at 66 for much longer. People will figure out, they'll be like Warp Coven, blooded levels, or not blooded, Brood Brothers level. I think they're going to be like still maybe 60%, but people are going to figure out how to play into them better. They're still not going to be, I'm basically saying they're not cults from the summer of Melee.
Right.
I will disagree. I think Sanctifiers are 100% the same power level as cults from the summer of Melee. I think that if you take them to an event, you're probably going to place, you're probably going to win. The only difference is I think that there's a lot more competitive minded people out there that are going to jump on the team because the team has a lot friendlier play style than Colts used to. Colts used to be like, hey, if you like Melee Hordes, you're going to do great with this team. Now it's much more like Sanctifiers are just cracked, and the only way that you lose is if you overextend, right? If you overextend too much, because the team has a ton of movement, right? I'm ready to give my nerfs to this team. I've played the team, I think, twice now, and I have some strong feelings. In fact, I almost want to ban them from playing on the channel because they're so strong. They're ridiculously strong.
You just want to keep a 2-0 win record. That's it.
No. I have lost every single game, okay, in my entire career this edition outside of I think I won one game. I tied Giacomo our very first game, and then ever since I've lost. And then this team was like, "Oh, Dakotah, you can win." I'm like, "Oh, that's amazing."
Not even win, dominate.
Yeah.
Stop a murder snuggle twice.
Yeah. And I believe I even lost my first game with Sanctifiers because I did the exact thing that I shouldn't have, is I was like, I can do anything. And I overextended, and then I was punished by Goremongers.
Mm-hmm.
And then Goremongers really turned it on when Giacomo started playing him correctly. Like when he was like, oh, actually, you can use more than one Gore tank per activation. Oh, okay. Or you can use the same.
Everyone gets to heal.
On everybody, I can use the same one.
Yeah,
I was hopeful that was the real rule.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I'll give my nerfs for this team, and we can each go through. Why not? We're not settling on what these guys. We're not Games Workshop here. I think Blaze needs to be nerfed. I don't know why it's like Poison 2.5, 3.0, Poison 3.0. The fact that it does stun damage, the fact that it does D3 damage, right? And it's like, oh, we want Poison to do 3 damage in a game. It's like, yeah, well, this can do like 9 damage in a game. Like it 100% could. The fact that it just kills 9 wound models if it doesn't like go away, and it's, it has stun possibilities, has a bunch of other things. Like Blaze, I did find wasn't a reliable mechanic that I could rely on, but I kind of threw my little flamer guys away a couple times because I wasn't playing them correctly. The fact that this team also has a crazy dash. So I think Blaze needs to be nerfed. I think that Lead the Procession should be a 4-inch bubble, not a 6-inch bubble. In fact, all of their auras should go down to 4 inches. So their Null Skull, everything else should go down to 4. I think that what else was there? Sermon, I'm fine with. I think it's fine. Justice Scratch is, I don't know why we put Justice Scratch on a team, a human team. I don't know. I don't ask questions.
Should only be allowed in Sermon.
Oh, that's cool. I like that. Only allowed in summer. Sermon.
Good thing we're coming to summer.
Yeah. I mean, the crazy thing is like I charged and killed a Phobos Marine turning point 1. It was like a 14-inch from 14 inches from my deployment zone. I got a charge off and was like, oh, you're cooked now, my guy. I fight twice because neither one of us died because I used Just Scratch and I killed a Space Marine with a single dude.
Mm-hmm.
Craziness. Crazy. I couldn't do that to AOD. Right, I'd have to play different into them. But yeah, so nerf lead the procession. Also with lead the procession, you should not be able to do the exact same thing. Or if you used a move, you can't do a move or a charge, right? You need to limit it to the same activation within the thing, or just delete lead the procession. Like if you delete lead the procession, the leader still has a great ability. He's still the Mandrake. I don't know why we made a Mandrake Pathfinder team who can alpha strike. I don't understand. I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you guys think this team needs?
I think you're right about lead the procession. Like, if you decide to move, then you can't charge. You can only dash later, because you already did your move. And that would, what is it called? Not mitigate, discourage people from just putting everybody in the bubble and go forward. So you got to
play Warpfold from Corsairs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can still dash and get your full move or charge, but not double move.
Yeah, that's rough.
What were you saying, Branden?
I was saying that brings it in line with the other movement shenanigans that are currently existing in the game. Mm-hmm. The thing that I think needs to get adjusted is having 4 or 5 chainswords on every fucking model across the team. Every model across the team. The Meltagun has a 4 or 5 ceaseless lethal 5 chainsword. Excuse me, what?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Mm-hmm. This is stronger than Zangors, which are a designated melee only unit, right? That's literally stronger than a hard designated melee unit. Why?
Yep.
They should have any sort of weakness, but no, you're just walking into 4 or 5 ceaseless lethal 5 chainswords if they charge. If they don't charge, it's still 4 or 5 ceaseless chainswords with the purity seal option.
And just a scratch.
Yeah.
So you're getting
chainswords.
3 hits, maybe 4 hits plus your shrugging one. It's ridiculous.
The chainswords need to get brought down to human chainswords, what they were before, that other teams pay equipment points for, is to put them at 3-4. In second edition, all the chainswords, and I can speak to this as a blooded, and your vet guard can too. Your chainswords were 3-4 because you're a human chainsword. You're not an Astartes chainsword. You're not nearly as big. You're not nearly as hefty. You're doing the job, but it's designed for a human to wield, not a double, triple heart, roided out space marine. So those things need to get brought down, especially because the team gets it for free.
You could also take all warriors on the team, and this team would still be cooked because they all have chain swords and they all have 2-up flamers.
You can't take all warriors. You're only allowed to 4.
I know.
But there's enough chain swords and flamers. You could do all chain sword flamers.
You could. Yeah. You could. You could drop a bunch
of one guy has a chainsword that is a flamer. What do you want from that guy?
Yeah. You know who I'm missing on this team is Pius Vorn. I don't know why she was not shipped with this team. I miss her. She's amazing. So Rob, your nerfs were really slight. I do think that if this team gets touched by Games Workshop, they don't have a large history of nerfing a team right upon release for Kill Team. For 40K, they've done it recently. We can hope that the developers have heard all of us crying about these guys and that they do something. I'm not hopeful. But if they do, I think it'll probably be relatively minimal, right? They might just nerf Blaze. They might nerf Sermon. They might nerf just Lead the Procession. They might nerf just a small thing here or there. The team does need a lot more than that. And the more that the highly concerning thing is this team is a high skill cap team.
Yeah.
I'm not very good with them and I fucking nuke people with them. Right. The better you get with this team, there's only the limit of the sky. Right.
Yeah.
I've been saying this thing locally that Sanctifiers are going to be a team that across the board are sitting at a 45-44% win rate and still get nerfs because their mobility makes feel bad mechanics happen.
Yeah, they're more mobile than
everyone.
Every elf team, everything like that. I'm not sure why belief in the Emperor makes you so mobile, but hey, I don't know. So, is everyone cool and done about talking about Sanctifiers?
Yeah.
Cool, fantastic.
I mean, I dressed up for nothing then.
You dressed up to dress up.
I did.
So next up is Brood Brothers. I have to find them though. They're there. Brood Bros. Cool. So Brood Bros are up next. They definitely can see a couple nerfs. They have a decent reroll mechanic, right? They have up to 14 models. Typically, you're going to be taking the Magus or you're going to be taking the Patriarch. I haven't heard a lot of discussion about their little Primus dude. But the team's pretty cooked, I think. I mean, obviously, I'm not like super familiar with the team. I've only seen them run every now and then since they get crushed by our current California's meta, they haven't risen to popularity. Branden, are you more familiar with Brood Bros, and do you have a decent nerf for these guys?
Unfortunately not. Every time I've seen Brood Bros played, they run into something that's like a wall, or they get mispositioned. Like, they misposition just by a little bit, and suddenly they have a Marine in their ranks, and they don't really have a way to get out of that. The Magus is one of the few things that helps because it can do the shoot into combat thing with the with his mind laser thing. But like overall, this team to me is shocking that it's winning so much because it doesn't seem to have the teeth
European
needed.
Thing.
I think so. I think it's also because a lot of the players have at least reduced how many elites are showing up at tournaments. And I think most elites just eat these guys for lunch. Like, that's my take on it.
Yeah, these guys are just like the better vet guard, and I think they do much better where places where people use Games Workshop Into the Dark maps. I think Games Workshop Into the Dark really favors them because there's a lot more shooty on those maps. They can do a lot more. They can do a lot more, right? They have decent melee. If you guys have a good comment about how to nerf this team and bring them into line, make sure you put them down below. They only that's the hard thing. We didn't really bring a really strong Brood Bros player. Rob, do you have anything on these guys?
Yeah, I have some ideas. Yeah.
Okay.
So like the Magus has like 3 abilities like that are innate as soon as like the turning point starts. And I think like what if you get to pick one?
Okay.
Right. So and then like on the Magus activation you can change it. So I think it's like ignore injury, what are the other two?
You can look at somebody and stun them.
Well, no, just like the natural, the passive ones.
I think we can pull it up here.
Yeah.
One's ignore injury, one's ignore piercing. I know those two for sure.
Yeah. So like if you like start your turn, you got a bunch of people injured, then you can start with ignore injury, and then on the Magus activation, switch to like pierce, or like start with ignore piercing, and then after you've got a bunch of people shot but not killed, then the Magus activates and switch to. So I just feel like each of their special leaders has too much going on.
Okay.
Like the Primus being able to alter the initiative, that should be like a once per game thing, and then and they're gaining CP should be. So the Magus or the Primus you got like not game control, not board control. You can choose initiative, you can get extra CP with the Primus. The Magus, yeah. So what do you got here?
I think you turn the Magus's mortal wound damage into a gun, just like the Chaos Cult's one, and that makes it a little bit less oppressive. This way you can actually hide in combat against it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That is a good idea.
Yeah, so I think because overall the team's like you're looking at what, like 10 guardsmen basically with some reroll mechanics, but no accurate. So it's not too damaging, but it's the leaders that can just. I think what Brand was saying, like it feels bad. It's like, okay, so I've got piercing guns and I can injure you, and none of that matters because you took the Magus.
Yeah. Also, if people use ruthless efficiency, this thing, with this coordination, it catches a lot of people out, and it can be really good. Because intervening terrain. This is a stupid ability. I hate it.
And if it has to have a chart, it's a problem.
There you go. Yeah, getting rid of like making you have to make some harder choices. Because I think right now people just take the Magus. I guess the Patriarch against elites because you need that extra combat. But you pick the Magus and you decide which of those 3.
Pro tip: don't take the Magus into Felgor. It's a trap.
Yeah, because
you can stun him. You can stun him, but the whole goal to play against Felgor is to is to either frenzy the entire team as fast as you can and then just let them have all their final actions and kill you, or you have to like do it really methodically. And unfortunately, the Felgor are in your line so fast that Blooded just they can't make use of the stun mechanics efficiently enough. It doesn't matter because they also have a +1. I'm going to stun this guy. Cool. I'm going to use my whip boy and give him +1 APL. He's not stunned anymore. You know, if the Felgor player plays it right. Patriarch, he's a monster. He's pretty good. He's really good into like melee operatives and teams. And I've never seen the Primus used. You know, I probably should have.
The Primus got a nerf in 3.0. He used to hit on 2s with its close range profile. Now he hits on 3s. So like that means he's not nearly as scary because like hitting on 2s from conceal with even a balance reroll means that you're just pushing damage through all the time. Combo that with the TP, the initiative manipulation was really solid for a minute. But people realize that the Magus is just more consistent in more situations because it just requires line of sight to stun. It also only requires valid target to do the damage. So like it's more consistent in more broader range of scenarios.
Yeah, I could definitely see the Magus getting nerfed and then maybe some of their other leaders as well.
I think the Primus is fine. I think the Magus abilities need a little touch. Like I said, if you turn his damage output into a gun where he has to shoot like an actual valid target instead of just doing it into melee because you become a valid target, puts a lot of damper on the damage output of that. And Brood Brothers rely on that plink damage into Marines so much. They need that in order to push through with the melt gun because there's hitting on 4s with balance, even double balance, doesn't guarantee killing a Marine anymore.
It's true. Another thing that I would like, I'm going to bring this up a little bit later. I don't know why all these teams have an only in death ploy, you know, like that was like Vetguard's like bread and butter back in the day, you know, it was like, hey, this is really cool. And now Sanctifiers get it for free with their icon dude. And so do Brood Brothers, you know. I think that you should either buff the Veteran Guards one, right? Or you should nerf all these banner abilities where you can just give a unique mechanic from another team to an entire team, right? I think that's another place that they could nerf a bunch of teams at once by nerfing a bunch of the banners, right? Because I mean, I think it's ridiculous that, again, like why are all these teams getting I'm within 6 inches of this guy and I got to do 1 AP action. It just makes all those Deathcore players feel like utter crap.
I think they should make it the Aquilon pistol person. Like if you shoot and kill, so when they get shot, every miss that you have +1, they get to shoot back. So like if that was it, like, okay, so you fired your bolter at my melt-a-gun, and you got 3 hits, I'm dead. I get 1 hit from your miss plus like regular. So like it's not like you get to shoot normal, you get like a limited. Like it's hurt because like the idea of you getting shot, you're dying, and you shoot as retaliation, it's not going to be accurate. It's not going to be as consistent. So like instead of you get to do 1 action, you get to do a free shoot action, but you only get as many attack dice as your opponent missed +1. That's the pistol ear from the Aquilons.
Oh,
gunfighter.
Okay, I can see that.
So you get to shoot back. But if you get murdered by 4 hits, then you get 1 shot. So hopefully you roll well, maybe dump a CP into it, and then they get a chance to save. And it's not like, these operatives are not John Wick. They don't just get to shoot all the time. Your operative might be John Wick, Dakotah, but everyone else, we don't have John Wick on our team.
That's fair. Rob is referring to my my action heroes, which is a team of third-party models for my Deathcore. They're all actual heroes from today, and they're all Warhammer sized, so they're pretty fun.
I like how Dakotah includes the 1980s as today.
Hey, I can still dream. I like muscles. So next up we have Chaos Cult and Warp Coven. Chaos Cult has a 58% win rate. Maybe just undo the buffs?
Yes. No 2 torrents.
Easy.
No.
Or torments.
Yeah, I think that actually the torments might be okay, maybe, but definitely get rid of accurate too. You know, if you nerf them, if you drop the torments, I think the team is going to go back down to like barely played. I would like to see every team get at least 100 games per data slate. You know, I think that popularity is also another metric that we don't take into account enough, right? You know, like Chaos Cult used to be the least played team, period, you know, for quite some time. And then everyone was like, oh, they're strong. And now guess what? Now everyone's playing them at tournaments again, right? Yeah, and they're pretty cooked. So you could just nerf everything back the way it was. You could just do one of them. You know, I think it's a really simple fix possibly for the team, see where they land up at the next data slate, see if they're still cracked or broken, and then adjust from there. What do you guys think?
I fully think that if you reduce accurate 2 back down to accurate 1, that brings that team a lot more in line with what it wants to do. And like it brings the power level back in line as well, in my opinion.
It's fair.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Jude?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Cool. Warp Coven. How do we fix these? How do we fix these dusty boys?
Wait until they're declassified.
Less sorcerers for less rubrics.
Well, there's a problem with that, Rob. There's a lot of TOs, including myself, that don't plan on declassifying things right away. Now, I could see myself declassifying white dwarf teams because they've never been sold in the box, and maybe
They are a
Gellerpox.
white dwarf team.
Yes, Gellerpox and Star Striders haven't been sold for quite some time, you know, as an actual box. And I'm mostly looking out for players who are relatively new to Kill Team, right? Like the last thing I want to do is have someone go buy a box of commandos and come to my event. And they just got declassified 2 weeks before they finished their team, right? So give some people some time to buy the box on a shelf, finish the team, and then declassify them. That is my argument. That is my take, and I'll die on that hill. The Warp Cup, all the old white dwarf teams, all of the Gellerpox and the Star Striders haven't had boxes in ages. So I could see myself just being like, hey, these teams aren't going to be allowed because they've never been allowed. But I could see myself waiting 1 year to 2 years for pretty much any team outside of like season 1, you know, to let people at least get a chance to play them before, you know, sales stopped.
I also have a more serious idea for Warp Coven.
Mm-hmm.
I think just making all of their ploys like firefight and strategic like +1. Like just make it so they can't keep doing, because they've got so many tricks and their sorcerers already have so many tricks.
Mm-hmm.
Like just make the CP tricks, because I can't think of a way to make it more challenging to take the data card tricks off. But like if you just limited their ploys to being like, maybe argue some lore stuff that as you touch the warp, it gets more volatile. So every time you use some of these warp shenanigan ploys, firefight or strategic, they're like +1.
I think everybody would be like, why would I want to play this team now?
Yeah.
There's so much taxes.
Well, Warp Coven have this thing where like you need a really high skill floor to pilot that team successfully. And part of that is the CP management in that team. And it may feel like that team can just do everything all the time, but like they really can't. I know that some of those things have been restricted. I think that one of the things you could do to take some power and some feels bad out of the team is to not make the after activation dash combo with the teleport whip back.
Mm.
And if you take that feels bad out of that team, that means that guy has to like commit or stay within 6. So it's much more limiting in how they use that. Because being able to move, dash, shoot, dash back with deploy, and then whip back with the token is a combination that's a feels bad that like you either know what you're doing to counter it or you just get slammed by it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a more nuanced way of just making it more expensive. I like that one better, but my idea was simple and hurt them.
It does, but I think that hurts them to the point where people wouldn't play them because, like, outside of maybe the people who know exactly what to do.
I'm down to throw them in the trash too. I'm right there with Rob. I'm not gonna lie.
No, Brandon's got a better one though.
Yeah, I mean, Branden does have a better one, but I'm also okay with throwing them away in the trash. If anyone else has any great ideas, throw them in our Discord, which you can find below, or throw them into the comments below. Throw them into the trash as well. My wife won't like those comments. She actually started with Warp Coven. I think they only need a couple small tads here and there, and then they'll be in a good state. So we can all hope for a little bit of something on Warp Coven.
How wrecked would they be if they could only take 2 sorcerers?
That's what I was thinking, right? Like you get less for taking different things because people always take the Zangors as well. So you just have the bodies and you can out activate certain teams and it doesn't matter. But they're still getting rewarded for taking 3 sorcerers, which is what's doing most of the damage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, dropping down a sorcerer might be an easy possible fix too. Maybe they drop to below 45% win rate, but I doubt it at that rate, Definitely might bring him in more line.
2 sorcerers is pretty crazy. I actually would like to see what happens.
Yeah. They could just increase in win rate because, they're like, oh, you just bring all Zangors and Zangors are actually cooked.
Nope. Okay. That's not the answer. I've tested it out. Trust me. That is not the answer.
Okay.
Okay.
Right,
good to know.
Fair.
I want to read that right up.
So Goremongers are next. They are A tier. Unless if you guys want to talk about another A tier or give another, if you guys want to pull out a card and give it to them, I think that's probably, this will be the last nerf that we give out to a team. But I'm using my card on Goremongers before anyone else has a chance to.
Sure.
I talked to Joshua Kelly today. And Joshua, I was like, he just won our event with them. And all of the Kellys believe that this team is absolutely phenomenally broken. For people that are new to the kill team scene or people that aren't near tournaments or any of that kind of stuff. Jimmy Kelly, number 1 in ITC, also thinks that this is the best team in the game. He was number 1 last year. He's not number 1 currently.
Well, he took Crute to a tournament, so I think that's out of the window for him. He's going a different path. But for the record, Kel Team, it was from Kel Team that said Exaction Squad S tier. So
that is true. Joshua is in 4th place in the ITC right now, globally. He told me there's a few nerfs that he would like to see. But I think if you put all of those in, I think the team would just be dead. So we're going to talk about them, and then we'll kind of go over what I think is probably best, because I don't think Games Workshop is going to be doing it over everything. So first and foremost, players are arguing that you're allowed to use the Relentless ploy on your chain swords and axes from 2 inches away because they are a melee weapon. And the way that they are read, in my belief as a TO, I think they are correct. Your melee weapons, it does signify a melee weapon, but you're still using it as a ranged weapon, but it's still a melee weapon. It's really difficult to understand. I've talked to other people that disagree with me. Go ahead, Branden.
The part of that the wording of it comes in on the chains, the wrist chain side of it, where it says it gives your melee weapons a 2-inch range rule, just like there are for grenades right now, which means it is both a melee weapon and a shooting weapon. And the ploy gives your melee weapons, whether no matter what its source, that rerolls from depending on how much blood you have in your tank. So I'm fully believe that was the intention, is to give those rerolls to the one wrist chain shot that they have, as much as it might be really freaking good.
I think that it was definitely not intentional. I will fight you to the death on that. I think that it's absolutely broken. So I think if they get touched this data slate, if they do, Games Workshop is going to clarify that, right? That's what I think is going to happen. Because that itself is a really broken thing in the game, where you can just come up and just attack somebody with a 4 or 5 damage chain weapon, and you get all this crazy stuff. You get Relentless, like shooting it. What the flipping balls? I don't think that's happening. Another broken part of the kit is that they can heal multiple times. So you can heal. Joshua said that we should be healing only at the very beginning of your activation. That'll be a good nerf. You should only be able to heal once in a turn, rather than I am going to charge this model. I'm going to fight you once. I'm going to heal. I'm going to fight you again. Then when he counteracts, he can heal again, right? Or you can heal at any point during your activations, right? That's a problem.
I'd like to see it line up with the Mandrake heal. Like you can heal when you kill someone.
Yeah, that could be good too.
Oh, that
might hurt them because then if they've been shot before. But I think healing, limiting the heal is a big part.
Mm-hmm. They've limited the heals in almost everything except for Felgor. Felgor are still allowed to use their spells to heal twice. I don't know.
So with Felgor, let's talk about the heal, right? What brings it in line with what's in the meta right now, or even just other functions in the game, right? Everyone that has a 2d3 heal has an operative that can do it. There's an action point with the operative. Even Warp Coven have to take the specific sorcerer that has it. If they get reduced down to 2 sorcerers, they have to take the Temperic one for the heal, right? It's also has a range limiter, and yes, Warp Coven has a longer range. It's the same range as the Shaman one on Felgor. But like it takes an operative and it takes their action and it takes their activation usually in order to do that. And this is a model that can't boost its APL. Every other heal in the game that is out of activation, out of a model's activation, is not 2d3. The Plague Marine one is the highest healing one in the game with the ability to roll 7s and heal for 7. Starstriders have a d3 plus 3 heal, which is really unique. But the power of the heal comes with like what cost you have in order to heal that much, right? And so if you bring the heal down into either the Mandrake version or Novitiate's side or whatever the case is, then like it needs to have an additional cost compared to what it is right now. Because right now they're just getting it across the board. You just have a healer sitting there right next to them at all times if they have any blood in the tank. And then you can pay a command point to put blood in the tank, heal for 2d3, and then take only a d3 back. Like it's okay. Neat. I think there needs to be a cost, and I'm not against it being D3 plus 1, but the action itself needs to cost the counter action. They need to sit there and drink the blood, in my opinion. If you want to charge in, take an Overwatch shot, then you need to be able to do the action and then boost to 3 APL to still be able to fight after you've charged and healed. I think that if you have an additional cost on there, no matter what the cost is, and then I don't mind it being 2d3. If you want to keep it free and keep it out of activation, I think it needs to be either D3 or D3 plus 1 or something similar to that effect.
Yeah, I think D3 plus 1 is a great also change.
Yeah, I think they structured the 2d3 to make it so that if you brought them down to 2 wounds, they could heal up to 8 and you could still kill them in shooting. But I think that's because they were released in the same box as Sanctifiers.
Right.
And I think like everyone else, it's like, yeah, I mean, first of all, I don't know what they're doing up in the Pacific Northwest, but Branden, you're coming in with logic and clear thinking. That's not what this podcast is about. You're too smart for us.
So I actually have a fix for these guys, and I talked to Jesh about it, and we both kind of agreed. If you're more balancing Goremongers around mid tables rather than just pure top tables and so on and so forth, I definitely think that the fix for Goremongers is you can only use their Gore tanks twice in a turning point, right? So if you want to heal with somebody, you're going to be able to do it with just 2 different models or at 2 different separate times. If you want to give somebody 3 APL mania, right, you can only give it to 2 different models in a turning point. If you want to give somebody, and that's going to make them way more difficult to play. But also it's going to tax your resources even more. And currently the way that you beat these guys now is you have to tax the resources. You have to make them use their gore tank points when they don't want to. You have to stun them, so they have to use a 3 APL. So now they're back up to 2 APLs and then fight somebody, right? So also the fact that when you use 3 APL, you count as 3 APL even after you've expended it. It's awful. What are we doing? I'm literally having a seizure over here. Yeah, not a fan. Not a fan. That's I think that's a relatively decent nerf to them as well, right? It's in a different direction than perhaps just like nerfing straight abilities. Rather than like, I think it's Games Workshop hopefully likes like less words changed in a team, and I feel like that'll probably be a really easy change for them to implement. And while it may not fix the team, it may make the team more manageable for the majority of players that are playing against the team, right? Maybe only the Jimmy Kellys, the Orions, the Jeshua Kellys, all these like crazy melee players are going to be the ones that are just going to absolutely shit stomp with them. So, yeah. Do you guys want to throw in Inquisition, Void Dancers, Felgor, or Corsairs into the mix of, or have you guys even finished talking about your nerfs for Goremongers?
Is there really any more they need? Healing was
the damage reduction.
Damage reduction is a problem.
I think should have the Jaeger effect where it's just once the first time, because it's or have it not work on crits like Novi's got, because the combination of the heal and the DPR is what's like the biggest issue.
I would agree. 100% agree.
Yeah.
That's another problem, and that's one of the reasons why they just crushed Felgor. It's the first damage they take during every fight action. So if you fight twice, you're getting it twice, and you're spending one. Also, who the hell gave them Relentless for attack point? Turn it into Ceaseless, just like every other team. Like, what are we doing? You could see those 3 attack points get nerfed, and then the team would probably be in a much better place.
Yeah.
You guys want to go through? You guys want to go through buffs? Start from the ground up.
I've got one for nerf for Void Dancers.
Oh, you have a nerf for Void Dancers. Okay, Rob.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love my elves. I love Hand of the Archon, Corsairs, Mandrakes, but not Void Dancers. And I think the problem with Void Dancers last edition is they were too confusing to play. Like I remember like matchups at LVO where I'm like, I know you've got stuff. You just do your thing. I trust you. I think they need to lose the ability to give the special ability once per, like at the beginning of as a gambit, like your
balance play.
Yeah. Yeah. So like they had that you have your Sadith and one person has it, and then each person gets an accolade each turning point. I feel like they got to earn it. And I feel like just taking that down, because like first turning point, they give the accolade to someone. So you got 2 people with balance or whatever it is. Second turning point, you got 3, maybe 4. Someone pulled it off. Just a small tweak that's less bookkeeping and less oppressive. And then you've got a team that's a little bit more straightforward because they're too confusing.
No, so I think the biggest thing is what they actually need is they just need balance back on their blades and not severe. I fully think that would solve that team in a flash, make that team a 51% win rate where it's like solid, but like they literally take blades in every single situation. I have yet to see a game where they take anything else.
Oh, because they got so much workaround. When you have a crit, you can do so much more. So yeah, take that away.
I think you take the severe away and put it back to balance so that there is a chance for them to just not be able to do the thing.
Yeah,
which,
I like that.
Will change, and because they don't have a double fight, they'll actually be able to get punished in those situations where those dice don't roll through.
Okay. I could see that. I wasn't a fan of any kind of Void Dancers nerfs, to be honest, because Void Dancers, I feel, are actually in a relatively healthy position. They're at a 51% win rate. And how many tournaments have they won? Void Dancers?
I am still jaded from the time where Void Dancers were 100% win rate for 2.5 months. So
they've won 4 tournaments. They have, they've won quite a few.
I think they're a stat check mid-table team. Like, because if someone's decent with them, they can just ruin your day. Like 8 models, 3 APL, charge in, double hit, or crit and fall away, and like there's too much like no fun. You can't respond to it. So something to limit their ability to get that tricks off.
That's fair. So I think it's fair. It's a fair point to make about Void Dancers, but I don't. What do you think? You've been quite silent on Void Dancers.
I don't think there's a problem with them. They're strong, but they can be taken down. they got 8 wounds, and they don't have a way to be like, I stop at this many wounds and you don't kill me.
All right, that's fair.
I think they have a 4-up invul save all the time, but it's just a 4-up. That's 50-50 shot. You already know you're going in without any AP, so you take weapons that don't have AP but more shots. So you give them volume of dice, you take them out.
It's fair. Now, Rob has 100% used this card. So Squad Games is nerfing Void Dancers. You know, he used this card. We're nerfing them. It doesn't matter what we think.
Yeah, that's
Rob
cool.
has used this card. Okay.
Sorry, Loomis.
Yeah, sorry, Loomis. Sorry, Charlotte. Sorry, you know.
Sorry, Void players.
Sorry, Void Dancer players. So, coming up next, there's still so many teams to fit on the bottom half of this board. I might have to change.
Most of them are at the bottom.
Yeah, well, these 3 teams are actually in the B tier category right here.
Well, yeah.
Put them above.
They actually just extend off the edge over here. You know, or we'll just do this. Oh, you guys can see the color metric now. Sorry,
That's fine.
It is what it is.
Gotta be done. That's a good spot. We got a lot of people in B. That's what we want.
Yeah.
Yeah. There we go.
Branden, what do you think for a team that needs a nerf that isn't sitting in S?
I think a lot of people will say Felgar Ravagers need a nerf. I don't think so. They've just been they're consistently one of those things where you have to figure out the puzzle of how to play against them. And I think something that feels bad is that some art forces just don't quite have enough tools to do that. So I as much as people cry out for Felgor to get nerfed, I don't think that it's worth. I don't think they're that much of a problem.
That's fair. It's fair. No one used them on Felgor. You know, if Goremongers didn't exist, I would put them on Felgor. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I hate the team. I think it's toxic. I think they're bad for the game. Yeah, I'm not a fan. Not a fan. Speaking of which, Mandrakes being in C tier, crazy to me. You know, they have a 43% win rate.
That's an addition change.
Yeah, it's
not being able to score first turn. That's what hurt them.
That's fair.
I don't think that's the only thing that hurt them.
Do you think obscuring?
What do you think else hurt them? What do you think hurt them as well?
The fact that their charge from conceal doesn't matter anymore.
Oh yeah.
You used to be able to charge from conceal because you deploy conceal, dash forward with the ploys, and have a melee threat in your opponent's lines where you really don't want them because they can go through walls and they can do it while concealed. So then you they'll be charging into positions where they have cover, so you have to be extra ready to stop those things, and that's not a thing anymore. If you charge me through a wall, it's only turn 2. I don't care because now I have my charge. I have someone that can do melee just like you can, and you can't do that through walls on ITDs. And your action economy on ITD is freaking abysmal.
That's fair. They've always kind of had a bad action economy on ITD, you know, to be for all intensive purposes, you know.
It was crazy to me when a lot of people were claiming that Hand of the Archon and Mandrakes were going to shoot up so much in on the tier lists when their same problems of Into the Dark have not gone away. Hand of the Archon a little bit better now with the way they manipulate their pain tokens, but it's still not a solve all. That's for dang sure.
Yeah, I beat Adrian in a mirror match at the
Adrian Bonavento. He won ITC 2 years ago
because I kind of abused the being able to teleport and him having to stay on engage. The changing from conceal to engage on first turning point really does. It's all first turning point. Mandrakes could take an early lead, do some early damage, and now that's kind of just taken out.
Yeah, I think another team that I was really surprised about was Hyrotech Circle being so low, right? They're bottom of C tier according to this, right? So they have a 42.85% win rate. Now the question is, do we think that Hyrotech are actually that bad, or have they always been this level? We just don't see any top level players playing them anymore. Because that's one thing that I know heavily influences stats. We see these top level players that bounce from team to team, and people who think teams are good and then they ultimately change the way Games Workshop looks at the game because they find these broken things, these different things, and then they just jump to those, right? And that's how I know Goremongers and Sanctifiers are just absolutely crazy, is because that's all these top players anyone's talking about, right? It's one of those two teams, right? Yeah. So what do we think about Hyrotech? And do you think that they're just dead in the water, or do you think they've always been... I mean, I definitely know they got worse from when they were, but what do you guys think?
I think they're fine where they're at. I think that they're getting pushed down by one, the lack of, the pro echelon taking them anymore, because they're not busted anymore. They're not just like, hey, I have this 12, 13, whatever it was, 14-inch diameter aura that even on Into the Dark affects you because of open doors, and it shuts down being able to generate crits at all. And you have a lot of teams that function off of generating those crits. Like we just talked about Void Dancers, the reliability of having that crit is like what I would nerf about them. And this team took any of those functions away from every single team in a very wide range. So like that was an issue. I don't think they're, with the recent nerfs that bring down the effect of those auras, I think they're perfectly in line to be fine. And I think that once some of these other teams that are at the top get brought down a little bit, they'll be perfectly playable at a 48-49% win rate.
Okay. We're going to move on to our buffs real quick. Branden, do you want to use your card yet? Giacomo, do you want to use your card yet? Before we move on to nerfs? Okay. So we're going to move on buffs. We're going to move on to buffs. We're going to go to Vespids, Scout Squad, Kasserkin, Gellerpox, Aquilons, Pathfinders, and Hunterclade. They are all below a 40% win rate.
Rough.
Okay. So that's really in a bad place, right? I think anything between 45 and 40% is typically like, I don't think we need to talk about them very much because they're probably already in a decent spot, like
you bring down the top and I think they'll be up in the same.
Yeah. I think that'll buff them. And this is also the highest Farstalker Kinban's ever been. So that's
Shane. No,
that is
Shane. Jimmy, right?
Jimmy.
Yeah.
He's doing the Emperor's work here, All right. So we have Vespids. How are we going to buff them? I've seen a couple people talking about Vespids. Giacomo, you've played them. I'm scarred by them. They absolutely murdered my Blades of Cain in a battle report. I took all Striking Scorpions. Didn't matter. Bugs killed 3,000-year-old elves. Crazy. Cooked. I rolled like crap, but still.
I was going to say, I think it had to do with just taking mono scorpions too.
I watched that game.
Yeah. If you had maybe some guns, I think you could have shot a couple of these guys because they're not built to last. Hardened Exoskeleton isn't as strong as you think,
Hey, I'm all about those 3+ saves. Okay.
I don't know. It's, I wonder if this is this and Aquilons are like the curse of, we didn't want to make something too good in the box release set. And they just kind of have like these general rules, but they're not, I don't know. Something about the team doesn't feel like there's any particular gotcha. There's not like, oh, I do this out of nowhere. Like, oh, you shoot me, I get to fly away or something, There's no like response to these things.
The worst thing about Vespids, is the fact that they have to use communion points to like do mission actions, right? So why don't you just have a ploy that lets them do mission actions for free, or use the communion point and they can do mission actions for free for the entire turn for all their models, right? They can open doors. They could do loot. They could do secure. They could do all these kinds of things just to give them a little bit better action economy, right? And see where that puts the team, right? They do a lot of damage. They just suck doing everything else in Kill Team.
I feel like you could just get rid of communion. GW is not going to, but you could just get rid of communion and it'd be fine.
So I think, go ahead.
Why do you need it? Like, what's really so threatening about the team that you need communion to absolutely do something?
Agreed.
I think the thing they were worried about with a team that has like fly across the team is you don't want to make them strong at melee because then they can just close and kill really easily. So I think if they gave them some sort of ploy that you get an extra attack with their like lethal 5-up and stun, but only on retaliation. So that way they can't charge in a long distance, ignoring terrain and do damage, but they are a little bit more like you can't just, because kind of like Casterkin, they fold unless Dakotah is playing Striking Scorpions. They fold in combat. Like if you had 4 attacks in retaliation, so you're not guaranteed to give some damage, but like it's a little bit more like, all right, 4 attacks, lethal 5-up, stun. You might second guess going in for a charge, but only on retaliation. Otherwise, if you give it to them on a charge, then with fly it just gets a bit too dangerous.
Make it a firefight ploy. That'd be pretty strong overall.
Yeah, add it to the one that gives them the extra combat bonus anyway.
Right. Yeah,
but only retaliation.
What about you, Brandon? Do you have any thoughts about Vespids, or have we covered it?
I think Vespids are really weak because of the lack of 3 APL on the team. Like they require so much to function without 3 APL, and that's one of the things that we were even talking about with Goremongers, right? Is you could just go 3 APL across the team, and you have 8 3 APL guys instead of just 2.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's a lot of powers in that, and them not being able to do it at all is sort of a weird thing. Because you're right that it doesn't let them, like they're already having to pay resources in order to do the thing, and then they can't even do it reliably because they can't stick reliably because they don't have 3 APL or any sort of mission action, mission dichotomy to mission play. I think that the Seek and Destroy tac ops don't help them any, so they have to play recon, and like that's not like 2 of those things require actions, and that's not what they want to do. They just want to operate around and kill and limit people from being able to do the thing. And that there's sort of like a catch-22 of being able to do that. And I don't know how far you want to buff them. I would like to see operative specific buffs. Like for example, the Flamer guy.
Yeah.
Just let him move 9. Just let him, like if he's going to do the Flamer shot, make it cost his both APL, which I'm pretty sure it already does. Let him do the Flamer shot because it's a move and a shoot. Let him do that. Like, just let him do his thing, because there's so many situations where people are like, oh, I'm going to take a warrior, because they never get that off. Even into other hordes, you're like, okay, 3/3 Flamer that hits on 2s, it should be pretty solid, and it's just not, because you can only ever hit one target.
That's crazy. Absolutely cooked.
So what about like communion points for a mission action? Like you spend a communion point, you do a mission action. You don't have to spend APL.
Yeah, but
I agree. The Flamer looks so cool, and it's just like nothing.
Yeah, just awful.
Just take a warrior.
Weird thing is that this would take a rework, but I would like to see them do something with the stingers. Just make it 1 attack on 3s that does dumb damage and then kills the Vespid afterwards.
Dude, it could be like 7 damage or something and kill themselves.
Yeah, just make it 5/7 damage, because I'm sure there's a bunch of Vespid players that are like, what am I going to do with this 2 hit point freaking Vespid warrior? Like he's only got 3 attacks in melee, so he can't take on like real melee operatives. He even struggles into humans, right?
Yeah.
So like let them have their suicide bomb attack hit on 3's base, so that when they're injured, they're hitting on 4s, and you can. I think something else is that you should be able to use the communion points with your melee attacks, since I believe it's currently shooting only.
Oh yeah, for the reroll.
Mm-hmm. Like you're already spending one of your limited resources. Just let them do it.
Yeah, I agree. So moving on to scouts. Scouts.
No.
So you just don't give them the power knives, and you just give them their 10th operative back.
100%. Give them the whole box.
Don't give them the power knives. Just give them the whole box.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. That's +1.
That's all they need, really.
Go ahead, Brandon.
They can't double fire their heavy bolter anymore. They can't double fire any missile launcher or sniper or anything like that. So like they're extremely limited in their double fire, which means almost only the leader is doing it. And he also doesn't hit on 2s with his bolter anymore. So like a lot of people are just staying away from that. Like, okay, well, I guess I just take the bolt pistol chainsword every single time. The team already suffers from a lack of AP. I think you give them the extra person so that they're a little bit more action economy on the field, coupled with the action economy thing that they got recently. And I think they'll be sitting at a much better spot. Good, maybe not, but better.
It's fair. I agree with all of that. Now, I have the craziest cooked ideas to bring Kasser Kings back to life.
I want to see what you're thinking.
I talked to Giacomo about this morning. My gosh, I was cooking. With gas. Okay?
That'd be good.
All right. You guys ready for this one? We're going to delete Deathcore out of the game. Deathcore is dead. Okay? They are gone. They are garbage. No one should play them. They're an uninteractive team. No one likes them anymore. They ruin the team. They're absolutely awful. Okay. I'm going to come out and say it. I don't like playing them anymore. Anyone that does, they've never came to me and been like, I like this team. They're so much fun. Right. That doesn't happen anymore. All right. This is what we do. Okay, fellas. Okay. Kasserkin have always been awful. Right. So what we're going to do is we're going to give Kasserkin the one thing that Kasserkin need. More bodies. But we're not going to give them more Kasserkin bodies. No. We're going to give them ancillary support. We're going to make them the new veteran guard. We're going to give them 2 or 3, probably 3 just Cadian guardsman bodies, right? They are the new Death Corps. They're the new vet guard. They're coming to town, right, with their little combat knives. They're supporting their homies because the only thing that actually makes Kasserkin more competitively viable is to have models that they can throw away, right? You give this team that, they're going to jump up at least to B tier. They're going to be cooked. They're going to be good. We're going to have old vet guard back, and we can just forget Death Corps ever happened because it's a ruined experiment. I'm so upset at Games Workshop.
So maybe every Kasserkin operative you drop, you get 2 Krieg.
That would be sick.
They're not going to do that.
I know.
Like, they're not going to... You're talking about changing the core fundamental, how the team is built. And good luck with that.
I don't think it's that far off. We're going to give them +1 more operative. I mean, what else are we going to do to the Kasserkin, right? Give them +1, +2.
I think base, you give them 4 attacks in melee. They're only hitting for 3-4 anyway. I think base, you give them 3-4 melee, like 4 attacks in melee. Like, all of Sanctifiers do. The Meltagunner has 4 attacks on 4s across the board. Why can't these super elite Kasserkin do it? That's BS to me.
Ice in their veins should give them just a scratch. No damage reduction, just a scratch.
Or make the damage reduction better.
Yeah, I mean, crits.
On a 4 is nothing.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, they don't...
They fold in combat.
Problem with them. Well, they fold in shooting, too. That's part of the problem.
That's why I want just a scratch.
This is one of those things where, like I said before, I played the scouts before they got power knives and were only 9 operatives. And looking at their ploys, like, I have a write-up of it somewhere. I'm sure I can link it. But going over their ploys, I'm like, this ploy is trash, the defensive one, where you have a defensive reroll. If you're in cover already, like, if you're already in cover, like, 90% of the time you're getting a shot with AP and your reroll won't matter anyway. Like, why is this a thing that you have to be in cover in order to get the defensive reroll? Like, you want to be a shooting team, but you only have 1 negligible shooting, like, ploy? What the heck?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, the team is bad because they have nerfed plasma into the ground, and every team with plasma sucks now. And, you know, the thing that I've never said is good, the reason why I will never advocate for a Pathfinder buff is because you're creating a team that doesn't have a functional purpose in Kill Team anymore, right? We are looking at teams that are just innately bad for the player experience and player games, right? If we make Kasserkin more shooty, they become more uninteractive. Like you guys said, give them more melee, makes them a little bit more interactive as a team. Cool beans. I think if you give them models that they can just throw away, you know, that makes them even more interactive and will be better for the game, you know?
See, I would counter with that, but that's just like what Death Corps used to do. And that's not very inspiring from a team perspective, like building it.
So, Branden, your complaint about the saves, I totally get it because the scout save was stupid. What about giving them like camo cloaks instead of their ploy to give them a reroll on cover? Like you get 2 cover saves, or you can retain a crit.
You just make them scouts, but they don't have to pay the equipment point for the camo cloaks.
Well, it's a ploy, right?
No, it's just equipment on scouts now.
Yeah, but for the Kasserkin, they have that one ploy that gives them a better defense, which is never ever used. So, like, what if that ploy instead was like you can retain 2 cover saves or a crit as a cover? So, like an AP1 weapon, you can still retain a crit and roll a dice. And so suddenly they're a bit more powerful in shooting.
I think the only way that works is if you make Ice in their Veins just a Jas as well, because the crack grenade still just auto deletes you.
Yeah. I mean, if a Sanctifier gets just a scratch, these people fighting for a dead planet.
Well, the other thing is that like you get the just a scratch and then they remove cover anyway, and you're like, okay, cool, neat. Like every crack grenade just goes look saturate.
Yeah. Ignore saturate maybe, like the scout. Is it all scouts get that, or is just the sniper? It's been a while since I played scouts because they suck.
Yeah, I'm here. I played them for 10 games before the power swords. I'm good.
I want scouts to be good so bad. I got my old metal scouts on risers. Let me bring them back.
Yeah, you were the first one too. Right when they came out, you brought them to LVO and you ran with them. You know.
Yeah.
I liked when scouts were good. You know.
I liked when they were bad, but not terrible. But
just give them all power swords, make them better than Phobos.
For my
so much better
buff on scouts, I think they just need heavy reposition for their missile launcher and bolter, and heavy dash for their sniper. I think that would be enough. Maybe not enough, but it would be helpful. I mean, because the Ancients of Death sniper gets heavy dash.
Yeah, but he's a space marine.
Yeah, he's got the power armor. 2 more wounds, better save,
and a better sniper.
And a better sniper. Just give them the dash. Give them the dash. Give the gunners a move. Then you've opened up a lot of options.
That's fair.
I don't hate Dakotah's solution of adding bodies, because you're right. That is a good solution, right? They need guys to die so like you can throw them out and it's cool. We didn't lose our power, because every dead caster you feel it with 10 models at 8 wounds that don't have a gotcha. Like it just hurts. It hurts so much.
They'll never do it because they won't add a box.
But exactly. That's the next thing though. Realistically, they're not going to do it because of the way you buy the box. You know, they did it for Vet Guard because at the time that was their sales strategy. This is just the one box, right? You buy it.
This is better than adding 1 operative. Okay, this is more creative.
It's a lot
Let's
better.
Add 3. Add 3 different operatives.
Or an airstrike. There, you have to add a box. Some airstrike.
Yeah, so they need some kind of interaction with the board that isn't just like shooting all the time. And I like the melee buff. I wouldn't be against like more GA abilities.
You can't. But here's the problem: you can't do the melee buff. You can't give them 4 attacks. You're going to make Inquisition just better.
Yeah, that's the next problem. Yes, the next problem.
You absolutely can't. You have to look at teams that are connected to Inquisition. You have to look at them in a different light. You have to either buff their ploys, you have to buff something else, or you have to give them something that they don't. Because at this point in time, the only reason why you take Casterkin is in Inquisition. It is
so you make it an equipment.
A better way to play them, right?
The knife equipment is 4 attacks, and the ploy is just a scratch, and suddenly you take
that's better.
I mean, just get rid of Inquisition, or just force them to only take the Scions and the Sisters. Scions hit on 3s.
It's fair.
Yeah, Scions hit on 3s, and they can have specialists. Yeah, like because the problem is like when a team and I think of the same thing for like Exaction and maybe even Breachers almost. Like when Inquisition can take them, that really means they're Inquisition. So anything you do for them is going to affect the better team, and then you just take the better team.
Yeah, I still don't know why Sanctifiers get 4 attacks, Brandon. That's a great call out. You know, I don't know why they do.
Well, you're going to see Inquisition can take Sanctifiers next edition.
Oh man, that would be awful.
Don't you say anything.
Don't put that evil.
You and your little priest robes, okay?
My Inquisition confessor.
Inquisition should have just been like the Inquisitor plus his retinue or her retinue, whatever you want to design your model as. You know?
Yeah, I mean that's cute. When you look at Deathcore, that's the reason why they buffed all their ploys instead of any actually operatives, because you can't buff the demo guy because Inquisition can take him.
And then that was a problem in second.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a massive problem. It was so oppressing too. Like I just trying to do anything to it. Now the demo man's going to get me.
Yeah, or just make Plasma great again, and then we can move on with our lives.
Plasma's in a rough spot.
I don't want Plasma,
dude. I don't even want. Bro, I don't even want to take plasma operatives, period. Plasma guns, plasma pistols. I'm starting to chop them off my models. You know?
I think the punishment for plasma is a little rough.
I mean, the Corsairs don't do it for me. Like, their uniqueness and the way they look and all that kind of stuff is just not, like, I want to do the team. You know, I want to, like, paint them up and make them and stuff. But, like, I don't know. I haven't been thoroughly jazzed about a singular elf team, and I'm the elf guy. You know,
make him.
I don't know if you've seen my Corsairs. I think you'll like my Corsairs.
Well, I'm excited. You're coming to the tournament.
Corsairs? Mike Corsairs?
They're Rangers, so that helps.
Before we speed run our final 4 teams, because I'm pretty sure our Pathfinder one's going to be super simple. I want to give a shout out to a sponsor for this episode, and that's going to be Rob. This guy over here, he sponsored not this episode, but he has sponsored the Squad Games channel. Right? In fact, he made these.
Oh,
what are those? Yeah, let's get a close up.
They came in. Yes. They came in today. Let's see if I can get a.
Just do your face, camera.
I don't have the sword.
Oh no,
Brandon's got the sword. Oh, it's really Branden.
So this right here, let me. It's in like a super small thing. Right here.
Just make.
There we go.
Oh, they're official.
They're official, and we have 300 of them, right?
In fact, 299. I'm taking one.
Yes, fair. You are. So this is our brand new hobby finalist pins for our events. If you become a finalist, you will earn one of these. If you earn one of these, that means you have a possibility of getting an award. On the back, they say Squad Games events, and they give our little website. But they are little pins that you are allowed to, that you can put on your clothing, you can put on your hats, or you can just give to your child. So they can have, Rob around, wear Rob all over the place.
In your house.
So it says hobby finalist on the pin. It says Squad Games. It's pretty cool. I'm trying to keep it in focus here. It's pretty awesome. Look at that.
That's awesome.
It is pretty awesome. Thank you, Rob. Appreciate you, man.
I want to give a shout out to Branden right now. I know it's not the end of the episode, but to Branden specifically for being, and I don't know if you guys listen to Vox Cascadia, but I so enjoy the Branden being Connor's dad bit. So Branden, I want to say thank you for that.
I love that so many people don't even know what that's from, and it's just become like a thing.
I also don't.
So what happened was Connor's car was getting repaired, but we were going to go to a tournament down in Oregon, so he got a ride to my place.
Connor doesn't fix his own cars? Isn't he an AdMech player?
He's not.
Shouldn't he know these things?
No. That small boy, his arm would break if he picked up a wrench. Connor, I love you. You know it.
Connor, you better come to AVTT this year, my guy.
So the story is that he got dropped off by his mom, and his mom pulled up to my place. And as Connor's like getting his bags out of his mom's car and stuff and moving over to my car, I started talking to his mom pretty casually, just hanging out, nothing crazy. But like, I look over at Connor and like, just imagine like a rejected stepkid. He's just standing next to the car with a bag in each hand and a backpack. Like I'm picking him up from school and I'm flirting with his teacher or something.
But you're flirting with his mom.
And it doesn't help that me and his mom were like chatting back and forth pretty steadily. So it was pretty funny. And then he just like used to call me his kill team dad for so long that like when I met his now wife, she was like, "Oh, you're the one that adopted him." I was like, "Oh, wow, that escalated quickly." Those are like those like 5 of the first 10 words that she said to me. All right. So amazing. I guess I'm just Connor's dad from now on.
All right. Well, shout out to Connor's dad. He's a legend, It's amazing.
Oh, thank you, Branden. I appreciate that.
That's going to go down in Exaction Squad S tier history, I can't wait. So also Vox Cascadia, also another great Kill Team podcast. There's also Vox Scream and Just Another Kill Team podcast. All great Kill Team podcasts out there.
But Squad Games is the best.
Thank you. Appreciate you. See, that's why Rob is on the show, because he just strokes our egos, Wow, yeah. What a nice guy. People in the comments sometimes say nice things too. Sometimes they say not so nice things. That's okay.
People are entitled to their opinions.
They are. So we have Gellerpox up next. Gellerpox, these guys suck balls. In fact, Giacomo, why don't you give us a little rundown?
I wrecked them with Casca. I think I lost one model. It was bad.
Like Casper Kid?
Yeah, that's only because I decided to go send one into melee so that one of the Hulks would be stuck. I might have lost like 2 models actually, maybe.
Wow,
yeah. Even 3. But that was like nothing. Like I was in the lead. It was bad. And this is against an experienced Gellerpox player. Like they knew what they're doing. So
do we just give them 2 more mutants? Like, what are we doing?
He says the bugs are the worst part. Melty, by the way. Yeah. He says that how you get the pests now is what makes them a lot worse. And that's one big change he'd like to see is like getting more pests so that they have the action economy they need to like not just have to throw out certain models like either the mutants or their big boys right away. Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm not as experienced, so what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it's the bugs.
Make the bugs 1 equipment for 4 so that they're at least closer in line. Like their faction, you can't even take all 4 faction equipment because of the bugs. So like, why is that a thing? I don't think that's right. The other thing that I would do is give them their extra inch of movement back. All the Hulks are only moving 5. They went down from 2nd edition from 6 to 5. That coupled with the door change of having a door tax literally everywhere means that there are rooms on Into the Dark where they can't charge because like there's one barricade that happens to be like in the way, and now they can't charge literally an entire room. So what are they have frag grenades to shoot with no buffs to it? Like what are they supposed to do with that? I think you need to let them at least move the same as everyone else on that.
That's fair. That's fair.
This edition took a boogeyman from Into the Dark and just took him away.
Well,
especially since their DPR is not anything that it was before, right? The 4 up to reduce damage by 1 means that you maybe get 6 rolls at it, maybe 7 rolls at it, and only make half of them, so you get 4 or 3 damage negated. That's not enough.
In fact, I would be okay with buffing everyone to 6-inch move. I don't know why salvages are at 5, why Jaegers are 5, because they're short and James Workshop is discriminating over here, right?
Now,
I don't know why.
I disagree. I need my dwarves to be slow. I love dwarves.
I like them. I like them moving slow. It's kind of fun.
I will tell you my reasons, and you guys can disagree with me still after it, and that's okay. The reason why is because we have so many taxes everywhere over this game. Games Workshop and the British love taxes. They really do. The reason why America.
I feel like the hypocrisy is real. Speaking as a room full of Americans,
as a historian, Dakotah, I am deeply offended by your revisionist.
He is a revisionist historian himself.
Okay, all right. Yes, he is. He is a history teacher. He probably knows more than me, but I'm going to make it up. We're just going to go with it. Everyone hates taxes. No one likes them, right? I'm sure you don't like paying taxes to your checks wherever from, no matter what country you're from, right? The fact that we have to pay door taxes just in general to move through a door, an open door, or the Volca's doors, make doors good again, right? Like this is the problem, right? The fact that dwarves can't move through doors or functionally move well and Into the Dark when they have 10 taxing doors in different areas is ultimately a problem. They can't reach some of those dashes. They can't do other things like that. I mean, look at this. Goremongers have a 7-inch move. Okay. They have 7-inch move, and then they can make it an 8-inch move for +1. Okay. For a gore take. Okay. These Gellerpox should be every model should have base 6. Okay. This is where we should be at in the game. Every inch counts.
Would you compromise with an equipment exclusive to Into the Dark that can open a door from far away, so it's like an automatic open door thing? Therefore, or something that would give them so they don't have to pay the tax for it.
What, they already can open 2 doors or something like that?
The simulation is they're opening the door, so they're not spending the inch opening the door. It's automatically happening using something.
No, because you open doors with APL. Right, mission actions, and it's not the problem is maybe you could like say, hey, this door and this door it loses accessibility, so we don't have to have the -1 that goes through it. Maybe it loses the tax or something like that.
I think that's better.
Accessibility.
Not get rid of accessibility, because then elves are going to be punishing. But I think anything with 5-inch move or lower should ignore, because they're already slow and stubborn.
I could live with that.
Yeah,
that
you
was
could
also
just
thinking that slow and purposeful.
You could give all dwarves slow and purposeful. So anytime that they would have to pay a minus to movement, they don't have to, right? So ultimately, I think that I'd be okay with giving Jaegers and Salvagers a little bit of a buff. You can erase and Rattlings. You could erase 1 letter out of my book of grudges after all the crap I've talked about these teams. Okay. But like in the end, I think that all models that have the base should be 6. If we're going to have movement taxes in the base to the base set of the entire game. In fact, this is a fucking huge deviation. In fact, that's the reason why me and Giacomo are going to start playing Kill Team Arena. We're going to bring back Kill Team Arena. If you guys want to check out our battle reports, we'll be playing on the Pariah Nexus board with some modified rules, and we're going to try to make it actually competitive and viable. I think that it's actually amazing. The layouts are way better than Into the Dark, and you don't have to have terrain, but we do. I have
it's cooler that way.
3D printed walls for some stuff, so it's going to be a fun time. So make sure you guys come and check out our battle report. We're going to be playing 4 or 5 in a row strictly on Kill Team Arena and trying to show everyone how awesome it is, because there's going to be no door tax. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. Back to the rest of the video. We're going to talk about Aquilons. I got an idea.
Okay, what are you thinking?
They've already brought turn 1 alpha striking back into the game. Why not just make Aquilons the aspect of that innateness and just break the entire game and just let them deep strike on turning point 1? Or you can increase the deep strike range so that they can go further. Otherwise, I don't know how to fix the team.
Yeah, honestly,
3 drop points.
3 drop points?
And so you lose 1 after turning point 1. You've still got 2, because the problem with Aquilons is you just know where they're going to be turning point 2.
Okay.
So you give them options. And then turning point 3, they're all gone. But turning point 2, you can be like, I'm going to go over here or over here. You don't know.
See, I would love to see old deep strike come back. I would like to see these drop zones change, and you can deep strike anywhere outside of 6 inches of an enemy operative. I think that would be sick,
Yeah,
they had it in an old Kill Team. I don't know why we couldn't bring it back. That would make hordes better against them, because you could spread out your guys. Oh, you can't deep strike behind me to nuke my leader, so I've spread out enough. So now you have to deep strike in front of me. Go ahead.
They kind of did something like that. I was playing a Crusade in 40K, and in Nachmund, they have a special deep strike rule where you can deep strike as close as you want, but for every model within 9 inches of you, and obviously it would change for Kill Team, you subtract an inch from the closeness, or something like that. So that way you could get really close and bust one guy who's all by himself. But if you try to jump in like the middle of a bunch of dudes, you can't really make it there, right? So it's like it's a way for them to pick off guys that are kind of trying to be solo, and or you could just take the risk and try to get really close with maybe 1 or 2 guys nearby. Something like that. So you could drop grenades, you could shoot well, you could have your melta take in and do something punishing, anything like that. Or even have
I got another idea.
Mm-hmm.
What if you also bring back the old rule outflank? If your guys don't come in via one of the drop things, they can come in on one of the neutral edges as long as they're over 8 inches away from an enemy operative. So you could still have them come in from behind, but or something like that. It just gives your zonage a lot more variability with a team that's supposed to be coming from anywhere, right? I'm not gonna lie, I miss some of the old rules. That's why we're playing some arena.
I also think that giving like a +1 APL to an operative like up top could be fun too.
Yeah,
because like the problem is like you drop in a Melta, they've done their move. You know that as long as you're more than 3 inches away from where they can land, or 2 inches away from their land, you're safe. But if you gave them +1 PL, you can drop in your Melta dash. So you've got 3 extra inch movement.
And suddenly, delivery system.
Yeah.
I think that if you let them keep the obscuring that they get from dropping in until the end of the turn, that will help the team a lot. Because right now it's a single activation after they've activated. So you're like, okay, that guy sits there. I go with someone else, and then I shoot him, and he's just dead because he's 8 wounds with a 4-up. I think that would go a long way. And I think that if you remove the distance for the leader to give out an APL, at least on the field, it spreads out where their power lies. So I think those are 2 options that are viable, but that's just my take on it. And those are really strong buffs, but Aquilons are not exactly performing.
No, they're quite bad, as a matter of fact. Let's pull up their stats one more time. Currently, they have 173 games, 33% win rate.
Yeah.
33. That means that they've won like 55 out of like 170 games.
It's not great.
Nope.
You show up to a tournament, you're winning 1 in 4. It's crazy.
And they're
It's
good looking
crazy.
models.
They are.
Yeah, they are.
I always miss
They
that my bomb man, like his whole job is throw the Melta, then he's gone. Like,
Yeah.
No reason for him to be a grenadier, honestly. Just give him the Melta bomb.
Yeah. So next up, we have Pathfinders. I'll bring up their actual, what they have from here if I can ever find the actual. I hate that these things are not in alphabetical order. It makes it way more difficult to actually find on the website.
It does frustrate me.
It does. Now, I think we could say Pathfinders is really easy, just -1 operative, and
Sounds
I think
good.
we're good to move on.
Perfect.
Meanwhile, Brandon's like, "What does this mean?"
No, you could make the team hit on 3s and they still win them. Like they would be better, and it would still only be marginal at best.
Yeah. Rob has left the chat. He no longer wants to participate.
I'm out of this place. Do they have infiltration and recon? Right? Is their abilities?
Yeah. So like they have the same problem that Vetguard have right now, is that they just don't live on points. You can get there, cool, but you don't live on them. You die, and like you require the action economy to do the thing, and then you die and you never score it again. So like great, and so much of the alpha's been taken away with the taking away of indirect. Like a lot of the teeth that team is used to having is just non-existent.
Yeah. Well, the other thing about Pathfinders is it's hard to talk about these teams. This team I dislike trying to offer any kind of buffs to them. If anyone knows me.
And they have such a bad stigma too.
Yeah, it's a real thin line between making them uninteractively good again compared to anything else, right? I mean, there's not a lot that you can do to make this team like generally better. You could give them accurate, you could give them ceaseless, you could give them the Vetguard treatment, but then you're just giving them the Vetguard treatment, right? Yeah, I'm not. Give him just a scratch. Oh man,
Dakotah doesn't want to add operatives across the board. He just wants to give just a scratch across the board. Got it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the crazy thing is if you give them +2 operatives, heaven forbid, the emperor forbid, the team is, you get so many warriors. I still think the warriors are still going to be good. I still think so. Like I'll have to play them on the channel and then everyone can laugh at me when I fail, or maybe I just cook somebody and then they're like, oh, wow, this is the real way to play them.
Pathfinders are great.
No, I don't know if they're great.
No,
but
they're not.
Here's the thing. We don't know if approved ops is going to change. In fact, next week we're going to be talking about changes that me and Giacomo would like to see to approved ops, right? And what we think could be a more healthy, stable, better version of Kill Team competitively, right? The question is, if these change and they make recon or infiltration really good, does this team just become innately better? Because that's the thing that we have to remember. Like Sanctifiers are weaker because they have security and seek and destroy, and really they can just take contain or seize defenses or something like that, right? But like if everything changes and everything becomes easier or everything becomes harder, does the teams just get innately better or do they get innately harder? And like with an overall change to the game, all of these balance changes that they've been doing might also drastically affect the game, right? What do you guys think about that?
I think that at least for Pathfinders, you could take any tac op and they'll still be bad. Like I don't think there's anything in that team that plays the other two parts of the game at all to efficiency, right? You can get rerolls and shoot on 4s, and like that's it. You have no melee operatives, so
they have
your
accurate.
Power.
They get accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah, accurate's great.
You hate deathcore, so no.
Their problem isn't like their damage. Like part of their problem is their damage output. Their reliability isn't there, but like their biggest problem is that they don't live on points. So you have 3 parts of this game that you need to play: kill, tac, and crit op. And by function of not living, you struggle to play either the crit op or the kill op because you die too freaking fast. So it doesn't matter what tech ops you have or taken, because if you don't have models on the board to score them, you're not doing a thing. And that's part of their biggest problem, is that they never have models at the end of the game in a position to score or make the game anything besides a stomp that it already is.
All right, Branden, here's an idea. What if we go with some weird faction like a firefight ploy that's, for the greater good, similar to Larcenous or Poach? Would that fix it? Could they take a point without controlling it? Would that be enough? Because that's a crit op solution.
I don't think so, because the problem is as soon as you give that to the crit op, like you still lose on the kill op, and your ability to play that ability relies on you having models in position to do that, and they don't do that. Kroot have 12 models and they can space out. They have some defensive tech in melee and they have some defensive tech in shooting, which is why Kroot are at a 45-ish% win rate, is because they do have some tools into those things to survive on a point, to take a point, to get in melee at a decent rate and live. And Pathies have just none of that.
I don't know. 4 or 5 damage is cooked. Okay,
it is really strong.
These guys have literally chain swords at Space Marine chain swords at a range. Okay,
with defense dice though.
They hit on force.
They hit on force.
People's defense dice are more accurate than these guys' shots. So they used to be known as like elite killers, and now they can't even do that. So they die in hordes in melee because everyone's 3-4 in melee, and they're not.
That's fair.
Unless you're sanctifiers, and then you're 4-5. They die into literally everyone in melee, even the hordes that don't melee, i.e. Vet Guard.
Vet Guard are actually pretty decent in the melee against all the lower tier teams. That's how I beat Hearthkin all the time.
So do we need to go back to the marker light that gives them +1 BS? Is that the solution?
You could.
Like you could seriously make them hit on 3s and it won't, with their current marker lights as they are, and I still don't think that's enough.
Instead of balanced, give them accurate 2, because why not? That's what they always get. These days they just give out accurate 2. Then they'd have saturate. They'd have accurate 2. You only have to roll 2 dice, right? Then you're gonna pretty much be hitting 2, right? And then target cannot be obscured. That's pretty good. And seek light, pretty decent. Accurate 2. It fixed Chaos Cult. It can fix Pathfinders too.
Very dramatic.
Thanks.
A Torment versus a Pathfinder is a bit of a different operative.
I
mean, I'm all for Pathfinders being nerfed to the ground. So,
yeah, I'm okay with them not being good. I would love to see a new Tau team, an actual real Tau team, right? Like I would like to see
8 stealth suits.
What about 5 stealth suits? Make 5 stealth suits and make it so they can't be shot unless if you're within 6 inches of them or something like that.
And a bunch
make
of
them like crazy, like that would be sick.
My sanctifiers would enjoy that.
I'm sure, yes, they would. Yes, they
6-inch flamer at 6 inches is still good.
That's fair. They are very good. And then our last team that we should be talking about here is Hunterclade. And I don't know diddly about Hunterclade.
Don't know what to do to fix him.
So first off, you take away the detriment to picking one of their prerogatives. I forgot what they're called.
Depreciations, yeah.
Yeah, so they have depreciations on all their abilities. They have 4 abilities, and each one has a depreciation that you're both buff and nerfed at the same time. Stop it. Let them do their thing. They did it before. It's not like you're adding an operative like they did at one point where there were 7 gunner guys and then 4 melee guys that like we saw the original worlds, right? But like you let them do what they want to do and take away the depreciations until you use it a second time. Like that's such an easy fix to bump this team up to a 40-something win rate. It'll help them a lot. It'll also help like playing the team because it feels bad when you're like, okay, cool, my 3 melee guys can do a thing, but like all of my guns are worse right now. All of them.
I have the easiest fix, but go ahead. First, you go first, Rob.
So I think we're going to take Branden's idea a step further. Going back to my problem with Void Dancers, and you can see this with all of the White Dwarf teams. They're too confusing. So Void Dancers apparently are working Warp Coven finally this edition are working. But like, so Hunter Clade have 4 options, and that's too much. Just cut it down to you have your shooting imperative and your fighting imperative. And currently, if your shooting imperative is up, your fighting is worse. Your fighting imperative is up, your shooting is worse. Just get it down to those 2, and then take Brandon's idea of you only have a depreciation the second time. So like turning point 1, you might shoot, keep shooting up. Turning point 2, you might fight, keep fighting up. There's no negative to your shooting. So just cut out all the fluff. They can either be good at shooting and fine at melee, or good at melee and fine at shooting. Just get rid of the depreciations, get rid of the other options. I think that's a simplify, and then makes it easier barrier to entry. And then also they don't have as many nerfs.
Well, AOD is just the better version. If they want to, they don't get any negatives. Yeah, no. The easiest way is just to play the new team that's coming out.
The new one that's
coming so bad. Out. There's no combat.
What do you mean? We don't know. We don't know anything about them
yet. We do, yeah.
Combat servitors, power servers. Like cheap, crush your skull. Beep,
Professor Zoidberg down here at the bottom, right there.
Oh no, he'll hit me.
Hey, Brandon, is your son excited about the new team?
No.
Actually, not at all. Which is not shocking.
He loves his Qatari.
Yeah, there's like servitors don't excite him. The rest of AdMech is really cool. The rest of AdMech has crazy stories, like the walker chickens that you see that have guns and taser guns. Those big giant ones that are like sentries. The lore behind those is they don't ever turn them off because they're afraid that they won't be able to turn them back on. The Cerberus riders are literally just modified humans to be these fire-breathing dogs to get rode into combat. Like, there's so much weird, wacky lore. Instead of, I put a hole in your brain, you're a servitor now. Ha ha ha. Like, that's not what excites any AdMech player.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Like, the only people excited by servitors are, like, Grey Knights players who get to take servitors to run in 40k, like, in the corners of the board.
I have the reason to be excited about servitors. And that's because I bought the Inquisition box to fill up my sanctifiers, and I have an extra servitor. That's the only reason right there. But it's I think so. Like Dakotah's idea of phasing out the White Dwarf teams, like they built these White Dwarf teams off of some weird metric that doesn't work. They found a sweet spot with the Warp Coven that is strong, but it's still like it just doesn't work. And so I think they need to retire the AdMech, and the servitors are not a replacement. You need just a solid like 1 box, buy it, like 3 melee, maybe 4 melee operatives, 6 shooters, maybe 7. Like, got to simplify it. Like Alex Squires and those really off the table edge, high math level people, but like for everyone else, just strip it down. Like, I think they need to be a team that's like Corsairs. They can flex into shooting or fighting. Right now, if you flex into shooting, you can't fight. And if you flex into fighting, you can't shoot. They got to have some like middle ground.
That's fair. Yeah. I've never been a fan of AdMech because they've, anytime I've tried to ever read them, I've always put me to sleep, It's kind of like reading a textbook in school.
I like Rangers.
Yeah, see, in school, I didn't enjoy reading. That's I'd get my books on tape, like my textbooks on tape, and they'd still put me to sleep,
Did you watch
Rob is judging me
did
so
you watch
hard right now.
Bolter? What was it? What's the show called? Hammer and Bolter. Did you watch the AdMech episode? It's very fun.
I
very
have
fun
not.
episode.
I have not. I think that Connor's probably feeling the same as me when they start trying to change like core identities of certain teams and just core things of different stuff, and it's kind of like, here's like people tell me like, Aquilons is the new Death Corps, just play that. I'm like, no, it's not the same. You guys just don't understand, I totally get where he's coming from, and I anyone else that feels that way as well, I hear you. I hear your pain. When the new Tau team comes out in 3 years, I'll feel your pain. Pathfinders won't be the same either, right? So like, I get it, so They actually took Veteran Guard and they turned them into Death Corps. Death Corps are just objectively just not fundamentally. They don't even play the same. It's awful. It's awful.
Bad.
Yep.
Yeah, I think some teams definitely got more flavorful and fun in this edition, and some teams definitely like lost their identity for sure. It's unfortunate, but it's the world we live in. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
Speaking of teams that have their identity changed, if I was going to use my card to be one of two teams, it would be either on Exaction Squad, mostly because I had a lot of fun when I was playing with them, even though I played them in a pre-buff state back in second ed. That's okay. And the one that I'm really using my card on is Commandos.
Oh, okay.
So Commandos are sitting at a 42% win rate right now per the squad game stats.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the things that you do to make them like back to being a nuisance again, like you make Choppas worth taking because no one takes Choppas. So make Choppas worth taking. Make them 4 attacks again. Why not? You have a whole Sanctifier team that has AP 2 and long range lethal 5 AP 1 with
Preachers beat orcs.
Hey, you're arguing for Kassergan to get 4 attacks. Commandos might as well too.
Yeah, I don't see why not. Yeah,
lore wise, 100%.
F it. Yeah, F it.
Make Choppas 4 attacks. Like the Gunners, unless they have a Choppa, fine. But like even if you limited it to like twice per turning point, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like have it be a wrist chain type thing where only 1 or 2 of the Gunners can do the thing. That's fine. But they need some more oomph because that team, like for being as threatening as it is in some ways, is like the teeth is not what it used to be in that team. And I think that team deserves a lot of love.
I agree. In fact, I think a lot of people would agree with you. There's 201 players who've played Commandos this past data slate. In fact, they're one of the more popular teams outside of Phobos from season 1 that has a ton of habitual players. And I think that like I'm still trying to warn TOs today that like you got to be really careful when and if you decide to classify your events, or if you're going to classify all events. I know I spoke to people in Spain. They're just going to go full ham. Everything is going classified, stuff like that. And sure, classified deserves a place, just like non-painted tournaments probably deserve a place, just like worlds with 4-hour rounds deserves a place, right?
Go to 3 hours.
And then you also have possibly speed tournaments where you could do each kill team game is only an hour, but you're only going to take half your team and you just play. What is that game called? You take like the half team and you can fight each other, like you can do all sorts of stuff in kill team. Like the world is our oyster. We just have to be comfortable enough to try and do it and then convince your own community to actually run events that way as well. Right. Mm-hmm. Imagine that and running like 8 or 9 rounds in a day, That'd be crazy. That'd be cooked. I'd be
nutty.
That would be fun.
3 space marines clear out.
Be pretty quick. You might not even need the whole hour. So I think there's a lot of fun stuff to think about. I think that Arena. Anyone who's listening should definitely think more about Arena. I'll give you a quick rundown. Doors. You have to touch them to open them. You open them for 1 AP, they get removed off the table. You can't close another door unless if you fully clear the door, and there's no enemy within an inch. And it has condensed environments. Pretty simple. And then we just play with the deployment zones. You play with where you put the objectives. And if anyone hasn't been around long enough to remember how amazing Arena was, you're missing out. It's going to be a fun time.
I think you need to bring back the Drukhari Death Pit.
It'll be there. It'll be there at our next event. Speaking of which, our next event is going to be the Kill Team or the Boys Kill Team Bash 2. I think I even have an image of our trophies here.
It's shout out time, everybody.
Probably, yeah.
Well, as Dakotah's getting that up, I'm going to give a shout out to Chuck. Branden, but Chuck and I have a long running history to do with soccer. And I just want to let him know that a 3-3 draw between Portland and LAFC was a fun event. So Chuck, hopefully you're listening and you'll get mad at me for that. And then also to the rest of the Vox Cascadia guys, I'm in Southern California. I got a great Southern California team, but I do enjoy hearing about what's going up in the Pacific Northwest because they came out of nowhere and just like dominated the kill team scene with their kill scream and all the other really great stuff they're doing up there. There's a lot of really good communities around the United States and the world, but I think I don't know what they're doing up there. It's rainy, it's sad in the Pacific Northwest, but you guys are doing great. So
they make shirts.
People love their games, dude.
Yeah.
Dude,
Tyler,
up north, people love
shirts.
games.
Yeah.
That's like where a lot of big game companies are. They love games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Dakotah, is this getting released on the Tuesday, right?
It should be released tomorrow. Yes.
Okay.
Tomorrow.
Southern California people, I'm jumping ahead on the shout outs, but we've got a league possibly forming in LA.
Mm-hmm.
I think Dakotah's been in on the organization for that. Get in
a
on
little
that.
bit. I'm mostly supporting this one.
Yeah.
Because I was going to run a league, but somebody reached out to me and was like, hey, we're running a league. And I was like, hey, let me support it. And we'll do the Squad Games League afterwards, which we have medallions and all that kind of stuff made for as well. But we're going to have his run first, work through some of the kinks, and then we'll run our.
Yeah, it seems like so I've been in contact a little bit. It's a lot of 40K players that are interested in Kill Team.
There you go.
And so there's a few of us in the kind of North LA area that are a bit more experienced Kill Teamers. We are super excited to help you out. So get in contact I'm sure Dakotah's going to link the Squad Games Discord, or Giacomo, you're really on that side of things.
That's correct.
And get in talk me, Highlander Rob, and I will get you connected to that. And we are happy to, if you have never played Kill Team, I am available to help teach. Also, a bunch of us will be doing that. But get involved. It's going to be a fun league. It's mostly based on learning the game. I will either be taking Rattlings or Sanctifiers, but I'm going to be doing like a neutered version of both. Mm-hmm. So
take Pathfinders.
No.
That's what he just said. That's what he just said.
11 Rattlings. We'll see how that goes.
It's not bad. On Into the Dark, you can win pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm whatever is good. I won't be taking that because the point is to let people learn how the game. Maybe I'll take Scouts.
There you go.
I've read Brandon's write-ups. They're good. But yeah, if you're interested in playing, reach out to Highlander Rob on the Squad Games Discord. I'll get you connected. Even if this comes 2 or 3 days late on your Discord, I'll get you connected and we'll get playing because it's all about getting people into the game and ignore the tier lists. Play your Vespids, play your Pathfinders. Mm-hmm. I'll help you figure out how to win better, and then you'll pick up War Coven, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm. And then also, Rob, you got to bring them to the All Valley Team Tournament.
Oh,
that's
sure.
Coming up in June. We got to convince the 40K boys and girls to come out and play at the best Kill Team tournament in the world.
Yes, that is June 21st and 22nd.
It is
coming up very soon.
Very soon. So here's our awards for the next one. These are our. So this is going to be the medallions or the top part of the medallions, right? We try to make us smaller, I guess. There we go. So we have the realist orc. So if anyone cosplays, I am advocating for somebody to paint you can come like that 100%, Rob, I'm advocating for people to paint their skin green, come out, we have the best orc, which is whoever brings the best orc team. We have the best alien for the best alien team. We have the best pointy ears. We have the best humies. We have the best spiky boys. We also have the best gas guzzlers, right? So those are people who come from a far distance, right? We have the biggest fret, which is our triple threat award. That's a mix between sportsmanship, painting, and placement. We have the best painted, the best model, the best, right? Obviously, the best person there is first place, right? Then we have the boys' favorite git, right? The boys' favorite git is 100% the best sportsman, right? Then we have the one git to rule them all, right? That person is 100% best overall, right? In the entire event. We also have the boss's favorite. So that's mine and Giacomo's favorite painted kill team. We have Witness Me, which is 100%. Yeah, 100%. The very last place person. I'm sure people are going to be going for that. They're going to be tanking hard for Witness Me.
Right, like I can't get first, going to go for last.
Apparently, every single if there's a buy, people are going to be so mad. Then you have the hype boy of the mob, right? Which is going to be the person who me and Giacomo witnessed that are getting really happy for other people's roles and being really just happy in general. And just, it's like sportsmanship 2.0, you're the person who's actively rooting to lose themselves. Right. And then we have the best display. We have the second best, the third best, the second best painted, and the third best painted. So, pretty excited about those. That's going to be fun. We got the All Valley Team Tournament coming up. Bunch of people flying in from the United States to come to that. It is by far one of our best events that we run, period. And then we have, I think, Midsummer coming up after that, and then LVO.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be pretty exciting. Shout out to our events, and shout out to Giacomo for always being there. What about you, Brandon? You got any shout outs, my guy, other than Alexander Popov?
Do. Shout out to Alexander Popov, the mandatory. So quick shout out to KTC and those guys. Just like we mentioned before, they got Killscream coming up in October 24th through 26th or something close to that. Mm-hmm. Shout out also to a couple of my LGSs, Terra Crux Games, for letting me run the league and just sort of run it willy-nilly as much as they want. And then Tacoma Games for letting me run my monthly tournaments there, so much so that we actually qualified for a golden ticket for our invitational.
Hey.
Nice.
So it's a pretty cool little cool thing, because like you could have someone come in from, just like Jimmy Kelly does, fly over to Florida to get Joshua a golden ticket. But this is, you have to go 3-0 at one of our monthlies to go to the invitational, and then the winner of the invitational will get that invite to go to Worlds.
Amazing.
So it's really cool to see GW support like sort of an alternative format for that. So I'm excited for what that can mean for the community.
So what if Jimmy Kelly comes to 3 of your monthlies and wins all 3, and then comes up and steals your golden ticket?
So he would only need to come up for 1 to win it. Once he won it, he would qualify for the invitational.
Okay, so it takes 2. It takes 2. Got it.
He's got 3
chances.
chances.
Takes 2. Then he's got to show up to the invitational and go undefeated. And there are a couple players that I would say that they're a little bit on the newer side that went 3-0 at one of these events. But there's also a couple players that have given Jimmy Kelly a run for their money. Tacoma game at Tacoma Open specifically, I know Chad gave Jimmy a run for his money, and Zach gave him a run for his money. And
Zach already has one. He's disqualified.
Yeah. So even though Zach's already got one, he can still win this event, and that means whoever gets second will take that, right?
Amazing. Jimmy already has one
too. So we're planning on having it be 4 rounds. So in theory, there should be one true undefeated at the end, and I may have to tiebreaker for who gets the ticket. But that's pretty standard at any tournament if someone's already got one, right?
That's fair.
So, but it's just one of those things that it's been really cool to actually see GW like support this not traditional tournament format to give them a golden ticket to be able to go.
Yeah. I think that's amazing. How about you, G?
Well, you know where you can find us on the Squad Games Discord. So if you want to join the conversation, you can write something about this podcast episode or a different one on there, or in the comments below on YouTube. Your choice, your pick, pick your poison. Like we mentioned, we have an upcoming tournament that's going to be May 17th. It's Saturday. That's at Green Tower Games here in Santa Clarita, California. Go join us there. It's very orc themed. It's exciting, and we look forward to seeing you there. Boards are going to be especially fun. And then we have the All Valley Team Tournament that's coming up in June. That's the 21st, 22nd. Get 3 friends, 2 friends. If you just, get your 2 friends, get them on a team, make a lot of stuff, your display boards, all that cool stuff. We really love it. It's a 2-day event. Come stay around. You're in Los Angeles. Come do something out there if you want to come a little early. And on top of that, you can check out the YouTube channel. We have other things such as the Hobby Highlander with Highlander Rob right there. It's looking all good. There he is. And we have battle reports. You can check those out as well as the stats show, which I'm sure a new one should be coming out pretty soon. That's usually held by Mr. Dakotah over there. He does his whole thing. He's a stats man. I let them do their thing. And you can check us out there.
Mm-hmm. Me and David.
One last shout out.
Go for it.
I'm gonna shout myself out. You can find me at Kiddo Crew Gaming on Patreon.com, or just send me a message in Discord. I will talk to anyone and everyone about Kill Team until I'm blue in the face. And like 95% of my content is totally free. Like all the bat reps that Rob was talking about are free for everyone to read. There's very, very little Patreon exclusive content. It's just out there for if you want to support me in doing coaching and all the different things that I do.
Amazing. Yeah. Make sure you support Branden. He's an amazing person, and he should be. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of this year. I'm looking forward to seeing how these Tyranids shake out. Looking forward to the Servitors, whatever happens next edition. Are we going to get jungle terrain finally with special mist that you can't shoot anyone unless you're within 6 inches? I don't know. Here's the thing. What do you guys think the next edition or the next season's terrain is going to be? Put them down below. My vote is going to be jungle terrain.
Jungle.
With super myths,
Exodites. Dinosaurs.
That's my guess. G, do you have a guess?
Yeah, just make it desert. I don't really have a guess. Just make it desert. Just a bunch of rocks and weird huts.
That's my guess. That's my guess, is that they're going to make it desert because they already did jungle and they're like, that's good enough. We need to do a different landscape. So it's either going to be Arctic or desert.
Shooting team meta right there. All desert.
What about you, Rob?
What's your sand in your eyes?
Sand. That's a shout out for Alex Squires. I think jungle is where it's going to be. I think they need to figure out a way to get the Catachans in there. Catachans, Exodites, some Tyranids.
Health suits.
To be honest, I think jungle is absolutely the worst kind of terrain you could ever put in a kill team game. Just because like, imagine trying to measure a line of sight around trees with lasers and stuff. It's going to become a pain in the rear,
We're going to add the cardboard cutouts. It's going to be like the original orc mech boy things that are like a cardboard thing
from second edition.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, mech boys would make really good little Ravener proxies.
God.
Then we could bring in savage orcs and all that kind of stuff. It's it should be fun. It should be exciting.
Should be a fun time.
Yeah, well, I think we're going to stop it here. It was a long one. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for making it to the end. Thank you to Rob. Thank you to Branden. Make sure you guys go support Branden. He took a lot of time out to be with us today and tonight. And just keep supporting all your local, content creators. It means the world to them all. So thanks to our patrons. You guys help makes this show possible. And, appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
+1 Sanctifier operative.
And Alex Popov. Can't forget that guy.
We love you, Alex.
Until next time, everyone.
See ya. The Squad Games Podcast is a production of Squad Games Entertainment. For more information on Squad Games, please visit our website at squadgames.net or check out our YouTube channel at Squad Games Entertainment.